style, old school laughs, you're in for a treat because we've got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember Mad Magazine? Then it went woke? Well, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today. Good morning, campers. Happy Memorial Day to everybody out there. Welcome to Midnight's Edge in the Morning. I'm Tom Connors. I think we're streaming on Rumble as well.
We should be. Everybody? We should be.
Okay, I wasn't working a second ago. I'm not getting a picture. I'm just getting the loop on there.
Oh, fantastic. Maybe there's...
Oh, no, never mind. It's going. It's going.
Yeah, that's my
fault. And we're also streaming on X, on my X anyway for now, until we get the other one set up. Welcome to Midnight's Edge in the Morning. As I was just saying, we have Andre with us so far. How you doing, Andre?
I'm doing good. Excellent. Glad to be back again after traveling on less than ideal traveling mic. It's kind of like what I have. So, yeah, we just had to deal with it. But I'm back again, and it's great timing to be back as well, especially considering that this would have been a real empty panel if I hadn't been back.
Right.
I believe it is Memorial Day too, so...
Yes, it's Memorial Day in the U.S.
Congratulations to everyone that celebrates that. That would be North America.
Yes, so what this is the day I think we remember those who have fallen during war times and whatnot. So thoughts and prayers to all those that we have lost. And yeah, so welcome everybody in the chat. Let everybody know that we're live. Hit that like button like Dr. Long Dongler is reminding you to here with his £1.99 super sticker. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Long Dongler. We appreciate that. That always helps us here at the channel. As you can also be a member, which I think we're due for a member stream here this week or so sometime.
I believe we are due for a membership stream this Sunday. So we'll be going for that.
Indeed. So yes, indeed. And I see so many regulars already in the chat. I see some wrenches. How you guys doing? Welcome everybody. So yeah, it's kind of it's still a holiday technically. So I know things are a little slow. And they were slow at the box office as well. So I guess that's probably the best place to start. Let's not waste any time, Andre.
Yeah, no, let's dive right into it.
Since we have nothing else stopping us from that already. I don't know how up to date these numbers are, although you said you had a deadline story in the background that may have more fresh numbers than this. According to Box Office Mojo, this is up to yesterday's numbers. Garfield and Furiosa were fighting for first place at the box office, but really, I don't think it's any contest, wouldn't you say, Andre? And there's reasons behind that.
Absolutely. And reading Deadline Hollywood, the most updated numbers which are right now, the 4-day estimates, which basically then includes the 4-day weekend, is that Furiosa is just barely going to eke out Garfield with 32 million over 31.1 million. But the funny thing is that is within margin of error. So come Tuesday, for all we know, depending on what the word of mouth is, Garfield could very well be victorious.
And even if it's not, it still is. Really, this is like Rocky versus Apollo at this point in the first film.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Because it kind of like doesn't matter if Furiosa wins on a technicality. Furiosa still loses by a wide margin because this wasn't even supposed to be a competition.
Yeah, because for those who don't understand where we're coming from, the basics is Furiosa. You could have made 3 Garfields for what Furiosa cost. Or for those who like my new math, you could have made 16 Godzilla minus ones for what Furiosa cost. How does that roll with you?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that was a very, very expensive movie to make, and we'll get into the problems with it in a while here. But needless to say, the people who invested the money in it, they look at this weekend's box office, and they have every reason to worry. And so has Hollywood at large, except the ones who are behind the Garfield movie, which would be Sony and Tom Rothman, who has every reason to celebrate. I mean, this should help them get over their hangover after putting Ghostbusters in the wrong release date again.
And Madam Web. Although I think Ghostbusters has come around to do it has probably hit the black now with the video on demand numbers.
Yeah.
But that being said, for those who may not understand the Rocky reference, I mean, if it isn't obvious already, Garfield only cost 60 million and Furiosa cost 3 times that. Basically, Garfield is the underdog. Nobody expected it to do even 30 million, let alone give Furiosa a run for its money. And it's already in the black. See, that's why it's a winner. See, let's explain that a little bit here, Andre. I was hoping to have some of our money men along, but Andre's a money man too, so he can help with this.
I am, yeah, basically. Because here's like the thing. There's 2 kind of success metrics for a movie. The first one is that at the very least, it didn't lose money. That's when a movie is in the black. That's when you can say, okay, this movie, it has now covered its cost. We didn't lose anything, so disaster averted. But that's not really a win. What they want the investment to be successful. Because when something is just in the black, well, you know what? Then you would be better off putting the money that you invested in that movie into something else that's actually going to make a profit. So no one is really happy with something that just made it into the black. You really want to make some green on it. But the worst case, though, is if it's blood red, if you just flushed a ton of money down the drain. And that is what Warner just did on Furiosa here. At an 4-day opening weekend of barely past 30 million, the same number as Garfield, which cost a quarter of the budget, they just flushed a whole lot of money down the drain, which they will never be seeing again. It is certainly the end for Furiosa, which probably was going to be anyway. It may even spell the end for Mad Max, which again shouldn't really surprise anyone.
He wasn't even in the movie anyway.
Yeah, and also, I mean, even the previous one, what everyone feels about it, was something of a bonus. Because if we're honest, Mad Max kind of like ended after the trilogy. Although I know many would love to see an old man Mad Max with Mel Gibson. I'm right here.
My Twitter's proof of that. Yeah.
Yeah. But this movie certainly isn't helping that.
I think War Monkey won the day with this quote right here. I think this. So yes. Today hates Mondays. Or so Furiosa hates Mondays instead of Garfield. Absolutely.
I should say so.
I think you nailed this one. In fact, I know somebody who would appreciate this comment. One of our fellow Canadians, Paul Chato.
Sorry.
You're fine. We're just talking box office. In fact, you came in at a perfect moment. War Monkey had a hell of a, I think he won the internet today with this statement. So today Furiosa hates Mondays instead of Garfield. So yeah, what we're talking about here is how basically Garfield is the Rocky in this Rocky Apollo fight at the box office here, to where it doesn't matter if Furiosa wins. Garfield's still the winner at the end of the day, because as Andre was just explaining, this movie's already in the black. It only cost 60 million. It's made 50 million overseas. It has set deals already in place because it's Sony. I can't remember if they send their they send their animated stuff to Netflix? Is that where Spider-Verse went?
Sony has deals with Netflix. So basically,
Yeah.
Netflix already paid
Paid
for
for
the
the
movie. You'll
movie.
note that Madam Web is also on Netflix. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Well,
the
then
saving grace for
maybe
that.
it's Amazon it goes to, because I think they send their animated ones to one or the other. But either way, it's already prepaid for. That's the
Either
point.
way, someone already paid the bill for it.
So yeah, Furiosa, on the other hand, as we were just getting to, well, you have a problem here. Here's where I got to come in and ask, what the hell was Warner Brothers thinking? I don't understand in what universe they saw this movie, because they predicted this movie was going to open big.
I can explain that. I have a theory.
I'll set this up for you to explain, because kids, what I'm getting at here is Mad Max Fury Road lost at least 30-40 million from what Deadline said. I'm willing to bet more, because the movie cost 150 million to make back then in 2014, 2015, and didn't even make 400 million worldwide and barely made 150 million in the US, which means, yeah, I'm willing to bet it lost closer to almost half, like 60 million, maybe more. But anyway, Andre, what's your theory?
Well, Tom, think about it. This movie came out now. When was it greenlit?
Like 2-3 years ago. So yeah, I see where you're going with this.
Who was the head at Warner that had to sign off on this movie?
Is this a sign-off era one, or is this a? Let me check.
This would have been Ansarnoff who signed off on this.
The reason I won't even bother, because you're probably right, because they've been trying to make this movie for the last 8 years.
Yeah.
And what got in the middle of it, believe it or not, guys, I found out, I forgot. I'm like, what the hell took so long? Because I was like, why in the hell would they have waited so long anyway? Because let's be real, there was a little bit of buzz after the movie came out. It did get some Oscar nods. It did okay on video. It may have finally made most of its money back on video. I'm not going to argue that point. But why wait so long? Well, I found out why they waited so long. George Miller sued Warner Brothers for $7 million. I don't know if you guys remember this or not. Because he went over budget and he didn't get his bonus. So he sued for his bonus, which really looked bad when the movie didn't make any money to begin with. So that's what got in the way of making the sequel so long, or prequel, sorry. So anyway, yeah, because the budget was 150. I found out he actually spent 157 million. There was his 7 million.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he won. I didn't even look farther than that. I'm like, oh, that explains what took so long.
Yeah, because that's one thing. Because that's why a sequel wasn't greenlit right away. Because I agree with you. Whether one likes it or not, Mad Max Fury Road did have enough traction that if they had moved fast enough, a Furiosa movie could have done fairly okay, especially if they kept the budget in check. But that didn't happen. A normal executive, someone with like taste and a sense of the audience, would have known that this many years later, it's too late. Whatever hype, whatever goodwill was there, it's gone by now, forgotten. So they would just have moved on and spent that money on something else. Certainly, if we're talking $150 million budget, sure, they'd greenlight the 75 million Furiosa, but not one that cost them as much as Mad Max without actually having Mad Max. Now, the exception here, and this is why I'm going with it, is Ansarnoff. This movie would have been greenlit under her rule. And to any new listeners who just may be catching in, maybe Ansarnoff needs some introduction. So I will put it in very, very simple terms. Ansarnoff is the Kathleen Kennedy of Warner. She used to be the head of Warner Studio. Do you like the movies in DC, or like, for instance, Wonder Woman 1984, Birds of Prey? That was Ansarnoff. That was kind of like what she wanted. You can blame Walter Hamada all that you want, but what he did was execute her will. And she was even the one that wanted to diversify the DC universe on film by replacing the DC trinity of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman with Batgirl, Supergirl, and Wonder Woman, because that would be so much more safe and so much diverse. I mean, that's what the original version of the previous version of The Flash was all about before it was changed. And that was the whole reason why the Batgirl movie was cancelled outright, because that's where they were heading with it. But then Walter Zaslav came in as the new corporate chief. He fired Ann Sarnoff, one of the first things that he did. And then he went in, he tried as much as possible to correct her mistakes. But Furiosa, that's one of hers. That's one of her little gifts that keeps on giving. And I don't think, I saw the movie yesterday, and I have to say, I don't think it was a bad movie. It was too long, it was too meandering, but it's not a bad movie at all. But it's the movie that came out way too late. After the hype had passed. It needed to come out like 2 years after Mad Max Fury Road. Now it was way too late. This is not the time culturally to release this movie. Not at all. And the box office reflects that.
Yeah, Paul, did you get a chance to see it?
Nope.
Yeah, neither did anybody else, it seems like.
No, it would appear not. People were too busy.
I was really excited about seeing it, and then I started hearing crappy things, and I went, you know what, I got better things to do with my money.
And look, here's my own personal thing. I'm one of the few people who is not surprised by this, and I'm not trying to be all ha or anything like that. Look, I get it. You can like Fury Road. I've had plenty of people who've come to me and they've been like, look, I like it. I get it that it doesn't really fit this, and it does fall into the category of a lot of things we have issues with now, and it is kind of the proto Ghostbusters kind of movie that came out that did the same thing, but we just ignored it. They at least acknowledge it. It's the people who won't
Ghostbusters, to be clear.
Yes, exactly.
Clarify that.
Yeah. To be clear, because that movie, Fury Road, and I get it. Some people have a knee-jerk reaction to it. All I'm saying is, yes, you can like it, but you should and have to acknowledge that that movie is exactly what everything else we've griped about since then, because you have the main character literally sidelined for a strong female character who didn't really earn it. And I mean, I could go on and on and on about it, but my other issues dove into the fact that it felt completely out of step for the Mad Max universe. I have a million reasons for that. And I don't want to hear that I have to do homework in a video game to find out why there's gasoline already for some reason in the middle of this whole thing when there shouldn't be. And a ton of other things. It turned me off. There were so many problems with it. I walked out of that movie feeling like most people did out of The Last Jedi. And at the time, and since then, I've gotten a lot of flack for it, and that's fine. You can like the movie. I'm not saying anybody can't like the movie, but I think the answer is clear as day why people didn't go see this movie, right? Because it's not Mad Max, and they're using Mad Max to sell it as usual. So this is another step towards exactly what we've been talking about for years now, right?
I try to make a distinction, and I've used this analogy already. You like Jethro Tull. Not every album is going to be good, but at no time do they phone it in, right? So you'll get the album, support the band. Yeah, it wasn't like thick as a brick. Same with any band that you like. And movies, unfortunately, at one point you'd go, okay, I'm going to support this director. It wasn't his best job, but he wasn't jerking off, right?
Right.
And
well, yeah. Miller just showed that he was a competent woke director. That's all.
Right. So the thing is, my meandering way of asking this, I haven't seen either of the movies. Would you say that this, because Miller is not did he try his best? I mean, did he entertain you enough? Was it like one of the middling albums, in Richie Blackmore's Over,
I'm
not one of his best,
that,
but you'd still trust him with, the next version. I mean, that's what I'm trying to get at.
Well, and this is kind of where I was getting some flack too, is I was kind of hinting that maybe, look, and I don't know, Andre might be one of the only people who will agree with me on this, and maybe Mexican Iron Man will too. We'll find out in just a moment.
Hello.
How you doing, Mikey?
Hello, Mike.
Hey, Mikey.
Mike, check. Good morning.
Test 1 2. Test 1 2.
We're sounding good as butter. Yeah, like I mean, I think maybe the Mad Max saga is just another one of those examples of where you need to save an IP from their creator. Sometimes it just it just is one of those things. George Lucas is a good example of that with the prequels. And look, I'm not saying they did better. Disney obviously didn't, but I'm not going to be one of those people with glossy over my eyes going, oh, the prequels are better now. No, They're not. It's still pretty clear that George didn't even pay attention to his own mythos and canon. And I saw the same thing with Miller here. And the same thing can be extended to people like Peter Jackson with what he did with the 4K releases of Lord of the Rings. There's a whole bunch of stuff he changed in there. A lot of these directors like to be revisionist. James Cameron is another good example of how he's destroyed his movies with AI. I mean, sometimes, and Andre agrees with me in some of these color timings and things these directors do. Sometimes you need to save the movies from the directors themselves because they want to modernize everything.
What did Jackson do in the 4K version of Lord of the
I'll
Rings?
send you a video.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as like George Lucas's stuff, but there's some revisionism going on in there. You didn't really notice maybe unless you've seen both versions back.
No, I have the extended DVD set. I don't.
That's fine. More. Yeah, that one's not altered. There's some color timing issues. Plus, he redid some color timing and other things to hint that, oh, this is a flashback. This is now. So something that wasn't black and white before is black. It's just little stupid things like that.
I have a comment about Furiosa before you go back to Star Wars.
Please continue. Yeah. We're not getting into Star Wars. Fuck Star Wars.
I consulted my expert commentator, Bambino.
Oh, look it.
What's that, Bambino? What? Hey, why is the box office so bad? Oh, Bambino reports that no one wants to go to see this movie because you don't have to spend $50 on popcorn and a ticket by going to the movies to see Furiosa when you can just drive through, I don't know, fill in the blank. LA, San Francisco, Chicago, pick out any city where there's a bunch of people with encampments, and you don't have to envision the future from the 80s. The reason this movie worked is that life was good in the 80s and 90s, and a dystopian future was so far out of the realm of human possibility, barring nuclear war, that this movie was popular because it provided a stark contrast. No one's interested in going and seeing Dark and Gloomy when Dark and Gloomy and fighting for survival and trying to afford eggs and milk and bread and feeding your family and paying $5 to $6, $7 a gallon on gas. That future is already here. No one wants to go see this. There's nothing entertaining about seeing that what your life is like, not 30, 50, 100 years in the future, but right around the corner from where you live every single day. Good job,
Bambino said all that? Wow.
He's very good. You know what?
Very wise.
No, that's very, very astute.
I got an idea. Mike, here's a business idea that we should go into. We're going to set up concession stands before you get into Philadelphia or Chicago. So popcorn before you go in to see the violence.
We got to sell them in Palestinian popcorn boxes.
That would be hugely popular.
That would be amazing.
Well, I'm actually glad you brought that up, Mikey, because that kind of segues us into the next part of this topic.
No, but seriously, Andre, don't you think there's got to be some, like, why would you want to go to the movies, take your girlfriend, go with your buddies? Who wants to go and see a movie about a dystopian future that is ever so much closer to the world we live in today? Just that.
But they didn't want to see The Fall Guy, which was a fun movie either.
Well, I actually just saw it this weekend.
No one wants to go see The Fall Guy because that's like a rom-com, isn't it?
No, sadly, yes.
Well, it tries to be. But it's not
really to be a rom-com. Well, guess what? Guys in the U.S. don't want to have anything to do with most women in the U.S. Who wants to go to a date movie by yourself?
I didn't hate it, but I also didn't like it. But I can understand now why it didn't appeal to some audiences. But there's more.
A rom-com. You're right. I never thought of that.
Well, my problem with it was, and that's the problem, you have a rom-com where there's zero chemistry between the two leads. Like, I felt nothing for those two.
I they were good.
I didn't get it. I didn't see it. But the movie itself was okay. It meanders in the second half. The Beekeeper was the one that I was really, really impressed by.
Beekeeper.
Yeah.
Mike, you haven't seen it yet?
Andre, I just saw it this week.
Really?
Okay, gentlemen, let's save the Beekeeper talk a little bit, because you know that I will say this: it's my favorite movie of the year so far. But that has
it might be mine now too that I saw it finally.
Comment about The Fall Guy notwithstanding and Furiosa notwithstanding, what we really do need in the world is we need some love. We need love back in our society, and we need romantic comedies back in our society, and we really need some cute couples flicks.
Well, and we brought this up already. The problem with Fall Guy wasn't the movie, right? Like, so let's not even meander on the whole point of the movie itself. The problem with that was the budget, right? And that's the same thing with Furiosa and some of these other movies. But people are turning around and trying to blame theater goers for it, or the lack thereof. I don't know if you had anything else to say on the other bit, Andre, before we moved on.
I
to that,
did
but
actually. I just want
yeah.
to make a couple of comments on your points, Tom, because I agree with you after the fact that you were right about Fury Road, that it actually did all the stuff that we hate in movies now. It did back then, but it was such a great movie. As for the complete, at least I thought so. I tremendously enjoyed
on its
Fury
own,
Road.
it's fine, but as a
Yeah.
Mad Max movie, it fails. That was my point,
Exactly,
in my opinion.
and that's the other thing. But at least to George Miller's point, he at least hasn't gone back and changed the previous movies. So I don't see him necessarily as something that or that someone that needs to. I would try that one more time. I don't see him as someone where it's necessary to protect his own previous movies from him, because I see him rather as a musician who changed his style completely, and not everyone, in fact, most of the old fans aren't necessarily on board with the new style. For instance, you can say the Fury Road is kind of like Billy Idol's Cyberpunk. Hated by the traditional fan base, but a whole new fan base, myself included.
But the problem is, though, this is like if Billy Idol decided to make Cyberpunk 2.0. Okay, that's where we're at right now with Miller.
Yeah, I know.
Forget, this sumbitch also made Babe 2, Pig in the City. Do people forget how bad that fucking movie was?
Like, yeah, means he can't be trusted completely.
That's my point. Is he better than some of the other people I mentioned? Absolutely. I'm not going to deny that. But he's shown how woke he is. It's not like, that's my point too, is that people can sit there and say, yes, he's done a good job with Fury Road. That's great. Furiosa might even be entertaining. Like you just said, you saw it yourself. I haven't. Full disclosure, I don't plan on it.
I wouldn't call it entertaining. It's interesting, but it's very...
See, and that's the other thing too, is Culture Casino didn't really care for it at all.
It's way too long. Way too long and meandering. And Mike, of course, is also completely correct. Mike, there was also another thing that made, because here's like the thing, you are right, Mike. We are actually closer to a nuclear war right now, in this moment, than any time we were in the 70s or 80s. We are closer to midnight on the doomsday clock right now, this very second. So thank you, adults in the room, but I'm even not going to get into that, because that's not what this stream is all about. But also, what happened in the 70s was the fuel crisis, and that's something that people could relate to. Even though a complete nuclear wasteland was really far off, people could relate to this constant fight for fuel and fuel prices and everything. We have that now too. Plus, we are kind of like living in a post-apocalypse in a certain way, from a certain point of view. So I agree that this movie has kind of like everything going against it in a way. Absolutely everything. This is what I mean. This is a movie that came out at the wrong time. It absolutely was the wrong time for another female-led film, even though there's far woker productions out there than this one, because this one really isn't that woke compared to many others. But still, just the perception of it, how it's going to be received in this day and age, when we have been deluged with girl bosses in the past decade. Well, this is the movie at the wrong time. And I think that's part of the reason why so many are so upset with this movie failing.
I'll give you a possible other scenario. Again, it's the fact that beautiful women have to be turned into men. So neither Charlize Theron or Anya Taylor-Joy look particularly sexy in either of their roles. If this was a Roger Corman or Russ Meyer's version of the movie, they would have been babes.
Paul's got a point.
No one wants to. If they had made Anya Taylor-Joy totally babe her, which she is, I would have gone to see it.
Yeah, if this was a 70s exploitation, or Miller had made this back when he was actually making the original Mad Max movies, yes. I think Paul's right.
All right, so I got a what if scenario. Let's build on that and go a step further. What if the Sweeney chick starred in this movie?
Yeah, no,
I don't think it matters, because Anya's beautiful. It's just like what Paul was saying is
my point
they uglified her.
They debabed her.
Just like they did
Oh.
in Madam Web. They debabed her there as well.
Right. That's my point, is why are they debabing beautiful women? Charlize Theron is a stunning woman.
Can I
Because
answer
we
that?
have we have to protect society against you white patriarchy. What's the other word they use? Misogyny? No. Yeah, that one.
Rosas-
Colonialist.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. No, because also remember, like this movie, it was greenlit by Anne Sarnoff and people like her. What is it that they hate even more than colonialist white men with their gruesome, toxic male gaze and everything like that? It's
Attractive
beautiful
women.
women.
They,
Can't stand
hate-
that.
they hate attractive women.
Exactly. So all the
Yeah.
women who are attractive, they must be uglified in some way. I mean, just look at Star Wars: The Last Jedi and what they did with Rose Tico. They put her in a potato sack specifically so that they wouldn't outshine Kathleen Kennedy's self-insert, because Lord knows she had to be the most stunning.
Look what they did to
Yeah.
Laura Dern.
Right?
Yeah.
Well,
Even
here's the thing.
worse.
I think a lot of people like to envision in their head that George Miller's like some Milius type or something. He's not. He's more like Paul. Go look at some interviews with him.
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
He's not like this, let's go get some trucks and guns and shit and have fun and blow some shit up kind of guy like John Milius was. I mean, those movies look like that's what he is, but he's not. He looks more like your gay uncle now than he does.
Which
He is woke
neat.
as hell. Yeah, basically.
If you
Wait, Paul does
again,
not look like my gay uncle.
if you take a look at the Queen's Gambit, it's a fashion runway show. Like almost every episode, she's in a new outfit, and she looks very fetching. So, like, I'm tired of the debabing of movies.
Yeah, no. But I mean, and the point I was getting to is, yes, George Miller is somebody who can put messages in his films. And I will totally admit, Furiosa is a pill that's easy to swallow. At least the first one, Fury Road, was a lot easier to swallow. I don't know about this one. Sounds like it's not so much for Mondre's.
No, it's very meandering. It's a pill that you'll be tired of very quickly before the runtime is out.
Well, what the hell is it 2.5 hours for, too? That was the other thing I noticed.
Why?
There's no reason why it should be that long.
No.
It's just meandering.
So Andre liked it, you're telling me?
I'm saying I
Not
thought
really.
it was okay, but it's my least favorite movie in the entire extended Mad Max franchise.
Yeah. And again, I mean, I'm just stuck in this. You can call me a boomer or whatever. Look, all we really want is an old man Mad Max movie.
Well, how is
Really?
Hemsworth?
How is Hemsworth in it? I guess that he steals the show from what most people say. I don't know what that means, but
I thought you were a millennial.
He was all right. I mean, the way that the role is written, I don't think he stole anything, to be honest. I mean, he's all right. He's Chris Hemsworth in it. He's Fat Thor level. I don't. What can you say?
Yeah.
If
And this was
anyone's saying
shared-
that he steals the show, ain't that much of a show to steal?
and again, I'm not trying to like shit on Miller, but yeah, just to remind people that he did say he was a very feminist individual now back in 2015. Thanks to our mods for digging that up.
Wow. Well, so he's a perfect Sarnoff pick, right?
Yep.
Yes, absolutely. Perfect.
If I'm a
Sarnoff.
colonizer and I love women, does that make me a feminizer?
I think it makes you the brown face of white supremacy.
It makes you trans.
That's it. I'm the brown face of white supremacy. That's what I am.
I like that.
So yeah, was there anything more you wanted to bring up on that before we get to the other related topic to this?
How have the reactions been? Have you noticed any kind of like I see some in the trades are like a little bit resentful at the audience for like, how dare you not go see this movie? It's
That's
so important to us that this do good.
Yeah, Paul.
kind of the next step to this. It's not just with Furiosa though, because actually I think this kind of started, even though I got this one up now. This is the more recent one here I found. This Wanda's attorney. I'm not sure who this is, so apologize. I'm not trying to single people out, but this one I didn't check into. What the fuck is in the water 2024? Because why nobody want to go see movies?
Well, I think that we nailed it pretty perfectly on this.
But where a lot of this started, or at least the first one I saw, was this one. Now, this little shit I want to call out Chase, because this is a guy who's trying to get into the Hollywood media's good graces, clearly. Because he started this the other day, and I've seen a lot of people. So I'm starting to wonder: is this like something that's being handed out as like walking, orders from Hollywood to get out there and gripe at people, and then they're defending theaters and all this stuff in the studio. It just, it's our fault, that we're not going to see these movies, right? Then you even got this guy who's like, I better not see Twitter bitch when Deadpool and Wolverine blows up the box office. Y'all are barely supporting Furiosa. It's like dumb shit. People actually want to see Wolverine and Deadpool.
And also, no one is under any obligation to see any movie. So the audience didn't go see it for whatever reason. I think it's very obvious why people didn't see this one. It's in every single way the wrong movie at the wrong time. I want to highlight this tweet right here. Tom, please hold it on screen. For those who are only listening, Tom is highlighting a tweet from one Hunter Bolding, hashtag HunterBvideo. I do not mean to call him out in any way, shape, or form whatsoever, so no one harass me or anything like that. I just want to highlight something he's saying here, because it's 100% wrong in every single way. Because what he says is, what we're not going to remember 5 years from now? Furiosa not making as much money as nerds hoped. You know what we're going to remember? That it kicks all kinds of ass. And that is as wrong as it possibly can be, because the only thing that anyone is going to remember of this movie is its underperformance, because that is something that sticks. The stench of a movie underperforming at the box office never, ever goes away, no matter if it is successful later on. Like if the audience discovers it later on, it'll never ever get over the fact that it underperformed. Even a movie like The Shawshank Redemption, which many considers one of the best movies ever made, it can never be mentioned without the asterisk, it flopped upon release. And then people discovered it later. So even with the best of movies that underperform, that sticks with them. And the movies that aren't remembered as the best ever later on, all anyone remembers is the fact that they flopped. So sorry, Hunter, but you couldn't be any more wrong about this.
Well, and I mean, kind of, yes, people did somewhat, in his defense, I'll say, forget that Fury Road underperformed. But that was because the damn thing got nominated for 10 Oscars and some other shit. And it's been almost 8 years. It's been over 8 years since that came out. So there was some time period in there for people to come around to that movie, especially considering the Oscar thing, which is a good example with Shawshank Redemption, right? I don't see people talking about that as a flop so much, Andre, anymore, but you're right.
I didn't say talking about it, but it's an asterisk.
Yeah, it is an asterisk. Now, this movie, though, I agree with you. I think it's going to wear it like a stench, because that's the first thing people are going to bring up about it. Just like Madame Web. Oh, that movie bombed. Because let's not beat around the bush, kids. This movie only making $25 million. That's a fucking bomb. Okay, because it's even doing worse than some of the films that they've considered the worst so far this year, like Fall Guy, and what was the other one more recently? The Ungentlemanly Warfare one, right?
It's doing worse than Paul Feig's Ghostbusters.
It is, technically, yes.
So, that's how that feels.
So, I totally agree with you, Andre. This is the dumbest thing ever. Nobody's going to remember this fucking movie in 5 years. Yeah. And then JT just hates us all. So yeah, we're being blamed for this movie failing and others. But I think the bigger conversation to be had here is it's not our fault. We know this. This is something we've been combating for the better part of 7 years now, Andre, I guess you'd say.
Something like that. For the better part of a decade is what we are approaching now. But still, this all comes down to the delay from when movies are greenlit to when they actually come out. This is the problem that Hollywood has, especially for big budget productions like this. They are at least 3 years behind culture. And this movie, when Anna Sarnoff greenlit it, she was all gung-ho, girl power, everything like that. I guarantee you that's why this movie was greenlit. But the audience just aren't there. So it's being girl power, that's a strike against it. And as Mike was saying, this is the wrong movie at the wrong time. Anything post-apocalyptic right now, unless you have one hell of another selling pitch, is probably too close to home for, I'm not going to say modern audiences, but for the contemporary movie-going audience of all ages. This strikes all over too close to home, unless you have one hell of another selling point, and it being perceived as another girl boss flicks is not a selling point.
I was going to say, this is like a perfect storm of everything wrong we've been griping about.
Why?
It's too over budgeted. You've replaced your main character with a strong whammies. I'm sorry, Paul, you were going to say something else, but yeah, sorry, it's just a petri dish of everything.
To be clear, though, the movie itself is not broken. There is a man in the movie without whom Furiosa probably wouldn't make
but it also,
it. So there is
but I was going to say, it also proves that a movie star can't even sell a movie anymore with Chris Hemsworth or Anya Taylor. But anyway, you were going to say something, Paul.
No, I was just going to say, I'm not going to see a movie about a chihuahua that needs washing.
Yeah. You know what? This is a little bit like this. Is a very expensive, something that should have been a direct-to-DVD sequel. This is kind of like Electra,
a streaming series.
You know, the 2005 sequel to the 2003 Daredevil, all over again, in a sense.
Well, the problem with that was because that was greenlit before this fucking Daredevil ever came out. That was a problem with that. But no, I agree with you, Andre. This would have been better served as like a HBO Max streaming series, if he really was, insistent on it. And I don't think it would have been as big of a loss. They could have wrote it off on HBO Max that way.
I mean, as bad as Atlas was, at least it was a J-Lo. It was her production company that put it together. Like, she wanted to be in her own science fiction.
So real quick, for people who have no idea what the hell you're talking about, Paul, I know, but Atlas is a movie that dropped on Netflix this weekend, correct?
Yes, and she is one of the world's greatest cyber analysts, J-Lo,
which I also saw.
And she gets stuck in a mech device, and she helps to save the world from the evil AI bot, Harlan. You can't have an AI bot that wants to take over the world named Harlan. It's got to be Z-Core or and it was Simu Lee. I wrote in my review, which isn't posted yet, where they should have at least called him like Emperor Ming, the Merciless, but that would have been racist, but would have been way more fun. So yes, I mean, I give her credit that she is completely out of place in her own production, but it's her production.
Yeah, well, I can't have everything, I guess.
Yeah, and it also has the supreme woke moment where a robot tells her off, says, "I'm not an it, I'm a she and a her."
That's how you know it was greenlit 2
and
years
you played
ago.
that, Tom. You played that clip of mine. Yeah, that's how you know that. And this actually, just talking about that, our good friend, oh god damn it, the anti,
yeah, that's how good a friend he is.
UK. Yeah, there's so many people. Where he who mentioned that when you start putting modernisms into sci-fi, it just sucks you out of the future nature of the sci-fi. Why are people supposedly in the future arguing about things we're arguing about now? Even perhaps they would still be arguing about it in the future. You just got to assume that these things have been solved. Don't bring us out of this sci-fi fantasy by bringing in our present bullshit.
Yeah, but how else are they going to virtue signal?
I'm sorry. I apologize, Andre. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Ow,
Nothing is more important than for a filmmaker, an actor, and actress to show that we are down with the cause. We are one of you. We are the good people. Go the modern day aristocracy. How else are they going to send that show that message?
You're right.
And when shareholders can pay for it all, then so much the better. Let's see what you guys in the audience are saying before we move on, because we have other topics today. Jason Webster starts for 10 Australian dollars, saying, well, with only earning 59 million globally against a production budget of 168 million, you could say Furiosa and Mad Max Saga has crushed hard like the stock market of 1987. Yeah, you could say that again. Jason Webster continues for another 5 Australian dollars. Furiosa has not only veered off the road, she has crashed, battle rolled, seen the wheels fly off, the windows smash, doors jam, and the roof cave in. Yeah, this would be a proper Australian car crash, I should imagine. Then let's see what else we have.
Were there any Holdens? I want to know, were there any Holdens in the movie?
What's a Holden?
That's an Australian car they no longer make.
I didn't notice. There better be, because otherwise it's a complete and total failure.
I'm curious how Australia reacted to this movie, because all the Aussies I know hated the last one. So yeah.
Well, we'd have the international box office, and we see Australia certainly didn't contribute much to it. So I'm going to say they didn't take too kindly to it. And David March sent us a member chat, for he's been a member for 29 months, and we're glad to have you. I didn't see Furiosa because it's 2.5 hours long. I will no longer watch movies over 2 hours in the theater anymore. I will watch on my 65-inch TV. And you know what? In this case, I honestly think that you're making a good decision. I saw the movie on like a regular theater screen, and there was really nothing in it that I felt, wow, I'm so glad I saw this on a theater screen and not on a 65-inch TV. I mean, frankly, a computer screen would have sufficed, because again, it had, like, despite its budget, to me it had like direct to DVD vibes. But yeah, that's me. And Daniel Nolan says for $5, I wonder how much of Furiosa's flop is due to 80s fatigue. Paul, do you think there's a massive fatigue of the 1980s, and that the extensive 80s vibe that went all over the place with Furiosa, I certainly didn't see it, contributed to its flop in any way, shape, or form?
I didn't get sense from the Mad Max stuff that it was suffering the same ennui as the superhero stuff was. Again, like I said, this should have been a Roger Corman effort, and Anya Taylor-Joy's outfit should have been ripped in strategic places. And then it would have been fun. Then at least, you know what, even if it made a winking nod to the era of what's that era, Tom, of those exploitation, female exploitation movies where, you know, their clothes are ripped, just
exploitation.
Like exploitation, the 70s,
Grindhouse days, yeah, 70s. Grindhouse out the 70s.
Yeah, with like the women in prison movies and stuff. Yeah.
Then again, you know, it's like, not only do these filmmakers no longer want to have fun, it's as if they don't want to have fun with women who are perfectly willing to have fun if you ask them. Like, there's an awful lot of female actresses that would absolutely get and understand what they're doing here with regarding some kind of grindhouse parody, right?
Well, and what you're hitting on is
Anya Taylor is one of those people. She seems like a very, very funny person.
Well, the problem is, and I know this isn't towards you, Paul, this is towards those who generalize it and misrepresent it. The thing about the sexploitation era is those women were not only sexy, but they were strong, right? Like, a lot of our favorite heroines come from that era, right? Red Sonja,
Sure. Pam Grier,
and all that other stuff, all the Coffee, and, you know,
Yeah, and speaking of just
Or
adding,
Barbarella,
yeah,
Cherry
well,
2000, all that stuff. Yeah.
but Coffee was a very good movie. I mean, again, you know what? I always argue with the fact that it's not the color of the person's skin that's driving me nuts. Is that they're casting really dull people, and if Pam Grier was in this particular Miller movie, and and she was strategically costumed, she's a stunning woman, especially in her prime. I mean, I think a ton of people would go see it, and no one would be going, "Oh my God, they're substituting not only a woman for Mad Max, but a black woman." Oh my God! If Pam Grier was in it, we'd go watch it because we are, men are mindless idiots.
Well,
We're
they didn't
very
make Tina Turner look
afraid.
all dumpy in Thunderdome. They made sure she was sexy looking.
Oh,
Got
yeah.
all those flashy outfits and everything. Exactly, Warren. Look at Tina Turner.
Yeah, look at Tina Turner. They've not, like I said, not only have they stopped having fun, but they've stopped asking the women to have fun.
Well, fun is problematic, isn't it?
Well,
It
as
is.
Tina Turner said, is it all or nothing?
God, I hate that song. I'd rather talk about Zack Snyder for the next 2 hours.
I knew that was gonna happen.
God,
It's only the best, guys.
you know what? You bring that song up one more time, we're gonna talk about final warning.
All the rest.
Okay, now we're gonna talk Assassin's Creed for 2 hours.
No. All right.
Yeah,
Terry I gifted 5 memberships. Thank you, Terry.
yes, thank you.
Sorry, you're gonna say something, Andre.
And the thing is too that Mad Max is in the category of fun films. Like,
Certainly the Road Warrior, which is one of the best movies ever made, and Mad Max 2, which is vastly better than the first one.
Road Warrior is like a perfect movie.
And Shanotsky says for $1.99, Road Warrior cost a catering budget of this film. Yeah, this is true. And on that note,
died to make that movie.
How's that for legacy? And The Elusive says for $5, $168 million Mad Max movie without Mad Max in it. Please help that makes sense to me. Well, it doesn't, because it came from the mind of Anne Sarnoff and very woke George Miller. So yeah, it doesn't have to make sense, because it only makes sense within the confines of the head of the insensible.
Why don't you guys take a guess at what the budget of Road Warrior is? Just
Road Warrior? That was nothing.
15 million. 12 top. No, 12.
No, I'd say
maybe with inflation, Mike, you might be right.
I'd say
it was
$800,000.
$4.5 million.
Okay.
No, I actually spent a little bit on it. But yeah, with inflation, Mikey's probably right.
Yeah.
Road Warrior looked like a Roger Corman movie.
Exactly.
It looked like Death Race 2000.
Yeah. And moving on with the super chats related to this, before we move on to South Park, I think we're going to have a great discussion on that.
Holy hell, I just saw that.
Exactly, that's what I mean.
Oh, I forgot to watch it.
Race the Apocalypse says for 35 South African rands. Are we at the point where people are so jaded that even when our films are not woke, they're now just being punished for fear it may be? Yes. Oh, hell yes, we are.
Right. And we should not be punished for being gun shy about it.
Nope. Hollywood should take that. Wow, look what we have done. It's going to take us a long time to win back the audience's trust. It's
Absolutely.
not our fault for being gun shy. That's Hollywood's fault.
And even the woke stuff aside, look at something like Apes. Like, what was my biggest complaint about the film? It wasn't giving us anything we haven't seen already. So a lot of audiences are just same old thing.
But that's what's happened to the music business also. They're just taking samples from old stuff.
Yep.
Back in the day, and I'm being old man shouting at clouds, one of the things that differentiated bands in the 70s and 80s especially is that they were always striving for a new sound on their albums. They weren't trying to make this albums all sound the same. You look at 10cc, and who are brilliant musicians. Yes, all these bands. That is actually one of the signature aspects of bands of that era. Richie Blackmore, everybody. They were always trying to find some new hook, sound, thing, pedal, that would make that particular song sound unique and interesting, because that was what they believed in. That's gone.
Oh, way gone.
They're not doing it in movies. We're not seeing directors trying out different things. We don't see like a cutoff shot like in a Woody Allen movie where the entire scene happens between multiple rooms and the people are moving in and out just like a locked off camera. It's just the same old cutting and shit and angles. It's like, I'm not seeing anything new from a directorial point of view.
No, I agree 100%. And Paul, I think you were here when I told this story, so I'll keep it as brief as possible. But like, I remember being in a store the other day and hearing a song, and it was like a sample of a sample of a sample. And I said something to the lady at the counter about it, and she's like, "Well, you can't. There's only so much music you can make." I said, "Bullshit." I said they used to. You had the Beatles and the Beach Boys. The reason that music is so great now is because those two kept trying to one up each other.
Yeah, exactly. And also to your point, Max Relax says for 15 euros. Thank you so much. Let's be honest. We had far superior story writing in the long ago compared to the stories we have today. Yeah, that's a right issue right there.
And
Same
the
thing
way
as in
they're
music.
writing them, all the subtext was drained out of Atlas, and everyone talks in expositional conversation.
And the funny thing is,
that's one of the funniest things. Yeah, thank you for telling me the entire plot and your entire motivation for this scene, but maybe you could do it in a more clever way and kind of hide what it is that you're trying to get at. It's so childish, the writing.
Absolutely. But again, so are the writers. Childish, inexperienced, and gun shy. And the ones that aren't, well, they have long experience behind them. And that's the same kind of thing you have in music. You still have some really talented musicians out there that tend to be old and be in the bands which were popular in the 90s and 80s. And then Glade Riven says a counterpoint to Mexican Iron Man post-apocalyptic. Fallout is doing well. If it helps if the product is good, though, quality first. Yes, plus you need another kind of hook as well. And Fallout was a video game adaptation of a very popular game that has tons and tons of fans. Plus, it has Walton Goggins, and that was a hook for even those for everyone here on this panel, because we all love Walton Goggins. I don't know how long Paul has been a Walton Goggins fan, but certainly me and Tom have been for ages.
Never heard of him prior to Fallout.
No, you only saw him whenever we brought out the "I fucking knew it" clip.
Oh, that's him?
That's him. That's Walton Goggins.
I thought that was Pesci.
No, it's Walton Goggins. We are massive fans of Walton Goggins here. And we have been. Like, the moment he was sold, we'll at the very least check it out, because everything that Walton Goggins is in is better because Walton Goggins is in it. Then the video game people, well, they're in it because it was a video game. Everyone wanted to check it out. And then Jonathan Nolan, I know opinions are divided on the subject, and not every video game fan likes it, and I understand that completely. But I really dug what they were doing with it, and the numbers bear out that so did a whole crap ton of others, because it's Amazon's biggest success to date. Far more successful than, for instance, the Rings of Power, which cost a hell a lot more.
Well, I'll say Sterling Brown was fantastic in Atlas, what few scenes he had. The man, doesn't matter what they tell him to act in. I mean, he never mails it in. He's just great, and he had to do some of the dumbest, stupidest things in this movie. But I love him. He is so good.
Yeah. And Action.com says it was a Falcon, Paul. Mad Max is right. It's a Falcon. So yeah, well, there we go. I guess we
Interceptor.
Know that. Yeah.
No, I didn't say that Mad Max was driving a Holden. I was just saying, was there any Holdens in it? Yes, right. I know he was driving a Falcon.
Yeah, there we go. And So Lazy sent us $20. Thank you so much. Why should I spend money on these crappy movies when I can watch you guys while playing guitar? Yeah, that guitar is not going to play itself.
Damn right.
Yeah. There you go. And I just before we get into the next panel, there was one super chat I wanted to get to for a very brief discussion on that. Jason Webster says for $5 Australian. So far, the South Korean supernatural thriller Exhuma and Dune Part 2 are my favorite films of the year. Yeah, I'm glad you like it. And my favorite film of the year, now with almost half the year done, and also Thunderstorm says, I look at many of these movies and wonder where all the money was spent. Indeed, where was it spent? Certainly not a lot of money was spent on my favorite movie this year, which was Beekeeper. And I keep on going on about how awesome it was, and now more people have seen it. I guess some of you heard me and Paul Lee, not Paul, but Paul Lee, rant about how awesome Beekeeper was. And Mike and Tom, you both saw it over the weekend. So before we get into South Park, how awesome was Beekeeper?
I'll start. I didn't think I was gonna like it, and you mentioned it 2 or 3 times, and so I finally said, you know what? And as well, you know, you and I did we're talking a lot last week, so I
Yeah,
said,
we
you know
were.
what?
We had
I'm
an
missing
awesome time.
I'm missing my Andre. So the way I'm gonna do that is that I'm gonna watch a movie he recommended. So I sat down and I watched it. Holy hell, what a freaking ride! Now there's some stuff that happens in there that's a little bit ridiculous, but I can tell you a lot of the gunplay and the shooting stuff, tactically well done, very tactically well done. A little overdone, but man, what a great movie! You never know when around the world you're gonna need some America. Fuck yeah!
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I thought it was a glorious movie. Best movie of this year by far, so far to me. Let's see what the rest of the year, but I just loved it. And I also love the subtext because you saw there was a diversity hire beekeeper. It was a DEI beekeeper right there that went up against the real thing.
Right. I like it when they said, "Oh, the new one's here. Oh, the new one that's supposed to be super badass. Oh yeah. Oh no, we're gonna send her out against him. Oh man, no problem. Well, we should have gotten rid of her." And then the other guy chimes in like, "You guys should have gotten rid of her a long time ago.
She got killed so fast, I missed her because I went out in the kitchen to get something quick.
Yeah, that was the DEI hire beekeeper.
Yeah, I know what it was. I figured it out after the fact, but I'm like, okay, because then I love that part because the other beekeepers are like, they're deciding to stay neutral on this one.
But before that, the setup of it is classic because you've got the lady head of the CIA, the lady CIA boss is like, "Don't worry, I'm sending out the new beekeeper," implying that it's the one that she picked, right? Which turns out to be the diversity and the DEI hire. And the old white, old male and pale guy is like, "You should have gotten rid of her a long time ago." She's like, "No, I got this. Don't worry." The chick goes out, and as we can assume, DEI hilarity ensues when she goes up against our hero.
She's even got shaved head, doesn't she?
She looks exactly like the chick from Star Trek Discovery. Literally, she's got that same, you know, the lesbo, black, African American, binary haircut, hair on one side, shaved this side. Oh man.
So I watched it right after I watched Fall Guy, which I was a little disappointed about. I liked it. Don't get me wrong. It just I had some issues with it, like I brought up earlier. So in Beekeeper, I was like, from what everybody said, I'm sure it's just gonna be like a John Wick clone, which it kind of is.
Do not shoot up Jason Statham's beast. That's all we're saying.
That's the thing, and to me, it kind of felt more like the Equalizer meets John Wick. Right, and I know you're kind of like doubling down on things there, and I'm not trying to be all Zack Snydery, but it is. It's that kind of badassery that we've been missing.
The one correction I would make is Statham has had his own John Wick vibe before John Wick.
Yeah, I mean he's got his own brand anyway.
Yes, his own brand, and
he is as close as we're gonna get to the modern Rambo Schwarzenegger of the 80s. And it's not nowhere near.
He's kind of the last bastion of that, yeah.
But yeah, he is as close as we're gonna get in the modern day to a modern day guy who's a badass all the time, other than Keanu Reeves.
He was hilarious in Spy, one of my favorite comedy movies.
Oh my god, I love that movie. Anyway, so Tom, you were saying about the Beekeeper. So what was your favorite part though?
Honestly, the part that I noticed that I don't know if I have a favorite part per se, because I fucking hate scammers, right? Like there's one thing, if anything, I hate scammers really bad. And the fact that a lot of these guys operate the way they do, that's one thing the movie didn't get real accurately, is that in a real world, motherfucker would have had to go to Ghana. But anyway.
Well, he'd have to go to India. But anyway,
that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. He would have to go to some other fucking country, because that's the problem with a lot of these things. And that's where I thought the police officer was going to be involved, the daughter of Mrs. Huxtable from the beginning, because you know.
Well, don't tell me. I just noticed.
No. But my point is like a lot of times when these scammers do their thing, the cops can't do shit, right? Because they're out of the country, and a lot of the countries that they're in won't extradite people for stuff like that. So that's the whole fucking point of why they do it there. So like, yeah. So the setup is these scammers who are scamming elderly people. Well, the beekeepers are supposed to be this organization that are set up
let's not give too many spoilers here.
And like, yeah,
just see it. Just go with it.
It's hard to talk about it without getting into the basic plot.
I just noticed that's available for free on Prime, so I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, do it. But anyway, yes, it's going against scammers. Yes.
Anyway, as I was saying, like I guess the part that I had to have to say that was best about it is I'm sitting here watching the movie, and I still thought it was the beginning first few minutes of the movie, and I realized I'm a half hour into it already. And the movie's not even 2 hours long. So that's the thing. This thing just clips along, and you don't even really realize how next thing you know it's over.
That's what tripped me out. I looked because when I clicked it on, I'm like, how long is this? I expect it to be like 120, and I'm like, oh man, it's gonna go on a while. All right, let me get comfy. And next thing I know, I'm like, who's next? Who do we go after next?
Well, Mike's right. Like there is some bits where you're just kind of like, okay, come on. I'm like, but like, yeah.
Look, there were. You're right. There were, yeah. But overall, it was and the bad guys. You know, these young Gen Z, Gen Alpha weirdos. I was like, yeah. Blow up some more of them. Yeah.
So I have a question. The bad guy in Beekeeper,
there's lots of them.
Okay, but he doesn't have any kind of altruistic reason for being bad?
No.
Because it's one of the things that drove me nuts in Atlas is that Harlan, played by Simu Liu, who did a fine job. I'm doing this to save the humans on the planet because
no, there's no such
have ruined the planet.
It's very John Wickish in that respect.
Right.
Like
I'm so
the bad guys. Yeah, no, the bad guys are simply just scammers, really.
All right, so Paul, remember when I told you to go watch Blackberry? Go watch this one. It's not as good as Blackberry, but it's worth your time.
I will do it.
All right.
But the bad guys are still good.
And we'll watch it again when you come here.
Yeah, indeed. And I kind of like how they were able to get by the Hollywood censorship and still get real message across of who the real villain is right there. But yeah, I will save that.
There is one bit at the end which I can't get into without spoilers where I feel like the movie did pull a punch or two in that arena where you're kind of leaning into Andre, but overall, like the movie was great. So I can recommend it highly. I can see where you're coming from. So far, it probably is one of the best movies I've seen this year as far as newer films. So yeah, check it out.
Yeah, and just to comment on Julian's thing, no, he did it for himself. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. But yes, from one to the other, I was just glad more people discover the absolute awesomeness of Jason Statham, Jason Statham's latest movie, because Jason Statham, he's the category of his own right now. You have action movies and you have Jason Statham movies.
That's my point.
And Beekeeper is the most Jason Statham of Jason Statham movies in the best possible ways. Yes, because you can have like all-out ridiculous Jason Statham, like Crank 2, and to a certain extent, the Meg movies. But this is just Jason Statham at his grounded and very, very freaking best. So yeah, check out Beekeeper. Something else many of us checked out this weekend was the new South Park taking on obesity and Ozempic. Is that what it's called? I just got like a brain thought.
Yes, which ironically I just started taking 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
What? I was like thinking that we can have some discussion here. I just have to highlight something. Everyone, look at Mexican Iron Man. Just look at this guy right here. I want to give massive kudos to Mike. Mike, he is such an awesome guy, and I have so much respect for him, because what you see right here is a young, fit Mexican Iron Man. But just a few years ago, he was still Mexican Iron Man. He wasn't so young, and he wasn't so fit.
Oh, you want to see some before and after shots?
Yeah, let's. If you're willing to share, let's see
Heck
some
yeah,
before
let's
and
do that.
after shots.
But I
Let's see some before shots of Mike the Mexican Iron
Boy,
Man.
this South Park episode hit home pretty hard.
Yeah, I should say, but yeah.
I'm like, I mean, I never took those drugs, but I was.
No, and that's the kind of like point I want to get to here. I just want to give massive kudos to Mike for doing and showing what can be done.
Wait,
Wow. Lower it.
That is Mike. That is
There you
Mike
go.
right there.
I got even better for you. Here's one me on a live stream just 2.5 years ago. This is on Echo Base Network. I don't know if you can see that.
That is Mike
Yep.
right there. Look at that.
Yeah, you look like a completely different person.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's half the. That's like a good 1/3 of your body weight removed right there. Exactly.
Wow.
These are before.
This is
and
me
after
driving to
shots.
South Carolina, listening to Midnight's Edge. Probably, I'm literally driving from California to South Carolina exactly 3 years ago.
And now people
Yeah.
know why every time I see Mikey, I say, you look amazing, or you're looking really good, and all that kind of stuff, because he does.
Yeah, and like that, of course, Mikey's son is always amazing. He's a bright little kid, but look at the father. I mean, I'm so happy, because your kid, he needs his father, like every kid does. They need their father. And because Mike, because you have been amazing, because you have lost the weight, now your kid has someone he can look up to, but you're also not suddenly going to die of a fat stroke or anything like that, which is something that you're not going to die of diabetes. And I don't think it's like a surprise to anyone that you were kind of like in the diabetes risk group.
No, I was. My A1C was in December when I shattered my leg and I got admitted to the hospital. I weighed 305 pounds. It was when they wheeled me in. They were like, "You weigh 305," and I'm like, "No, this is like," because I had no self-awareness. And they're like, "No," I'm like, "No, I don't." They're like, "Yeah, you do," because in my head I was still thin. And they're like, "No,
that's the thing with fat people; they don't know how fat they are."
They're like, they're like, "You're 305." I'm like, "No, you got to take the weight of the gurney," because they wheeled me in because my leg's broken, right? They're like, I'm like, "No, you got to take the weight of the gurney out." They're like, "We did." Yeah, it's that's 200 pounds. You're 305. So number one, I was 305. Number two, I had high blood pressure. And number three, they told me that my A1C was 9.2, which basically means that at any particular time I was at risk for having a diabetic stroke.
It also means that at any time you were at risk of losing your feet, which they tend to chop off at those those
like that opening scene where they're looking at his feet. They did that with me.
Yeah,
like I had that. Like that happened with me.
Yeah.
And so the opening scene that you're talking about, yeah. So go ahead.
Yeah. And here's the amazing thing, because this is one thing that we're going to get into it, but this is something that actually really disappointed me with this episode. It didn't really give it to the pharmaceutical industry that will give you this bullshit that, oh, if you have gotten type 2 diabetes, or you're stuck with it now for the rest of your life, there's no going back. So just take these drugs for the rest of your life to suppress the symptoms and you'll be fine. Whereas in reality, we're not doctors, blah, 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 blah. Go to any real expert in this field, but you can totally reverse it. You can totally undo it. And Mike is living proof of just that.
Well, to be fair, in the episode itself, they don't dive too much into that. What they do get into is something that I've been dealing with. And that was because I actually didn't start on Ozempic, and it was Trulicity is what I started on, and it was because of my diabetes. And they do make that point. And I was glad they did that, at least, because the things that I liked most about the episode, too, real quick before we get too deep into it, were that how it took the medical industry on head on, and how they literally have to navigate through the bullshit, right? And then to top it off, like they gripe about how patients who have diabetes get priority. Well, guess what? That's not actually the case. They got that kind of wrong in because everything I've been running into is once it's gone, it's gone. It doesn't matter who gets it first. And that's the thing is once they opened it up to people, because that part is true, because now anybody can get it, right? Before you could only get it if you were pre-diabetic or diabetic, and now anybody can get it if they want to pay for it. And that has this show did show how popular this has clearly become among people for whatever reasons they're getting it who are not diabetic or pre-diabetic, and they're using it just for weight loss.
Well, I was full-blown diabetic, and I was on 2 insulin shots a day. I still got downstairs in the kitchen a whole big-ass box carton of syringes that I don't use anymore because with a clean diet and exercise, I completely got rid of all of my diabetes. I was full-blown diabetic, and they told me I'd be taking 2 shots a day forever.
And I've heard a ton of testimonials like Mike's, so I completely believe
I
it.
was
So
full.
yeah,
They said I'd be doing 2. I would take a shot in the morning and a shot at night of syringes. Paul, when you come, I'll show you the box downstairs.
my doctor was even clear with me that I can reverse it. Yeah,
basically they said I'll be taking 2 shots for the rest of my life, and then frankly they said they gave me 5 to 8 years, and by 10 years tops I'll be in dialysis if I didn't change my life.
Yeah, and I just want to say again, Mike completely changed it and reversed it. So
and it's a family affair. Paulie from Latino Slant was key. I paid Paulie $300. I'm just going to shameless plug for Paul. He's not even listening right now because I know where he's at. I paid him $380 for 18 months. I don't use him anymore because I now got a whole other workout program. Paulie, 3 hours, 3 times a week, 30 to 40 minutes, 3 times a week with Latino Slant ZenFit on a Zoom call. And that was all I needed with good diet, water, and sleeping regularly. And Paulie fixed me right up. And 18 months later, I had dropped 100 pounds, literally.
Yeah, the Midnight Edge success story right there.
Yep. Hail Latino.
Yeah, and I'm so proud of you and so
Thanks,
inspired
boss.
and respect that so much because I mean you've done awesome and you're an example to us all. And here's like the funny thing. Because I get that it's difficult to find the will to do it because that's the only thing that these drugs do. They take away your lust, your hunger, your yearning for certain foods, and I guess a bunch of other things in the process. But even if you don't have those drugs available, because Mike, you did it without any of this. It can be done if one just decides that this is it and now we're going to do it. But this brings us to the episode.
And I was going to say, in my experience so far, I can see why they may not have gone at the drug itself so hard. Because, I mean, a lot of the side effects, looking it up and stuff like that, clearly, if you're somebody who takes this, you clearly have to consult your doctor and all that kind of stuff. But, like, I'm fortunate thus far not to have had any of the side effects that I've noticed. But, yeah, like you just said, it does detour my appetite so far in the last 2 weeks since I've been taking it. I did notice that. I've noticed a little bit more energy. So yeah, there is certain things about it, and they did get into the actual science of what it does. See, and that's what South Park does best. But I agree with you. Like there's things that they did leave out. The episode overall is not the best South Park special by far. I mean, frankly, it was better than the last one, but it's not nearly as good as like the Panderverse one, for instance. But overall, I mean, I think the bigger part about it that was funny was how they attacked Lizzo. I mean, I don't know if there was anything more you wanted to say about the first part of it before we get to that.
Well, before we get into Lizzo, let's just hear everyone's review of the episode and takeaway from it. Mike, let's begin with you because again, you have your own success story here and may be able to relate to the episode and Cardsman's plight, although maybe not his motivation.
Yeah, well, I mean, I remember when they were giving me all this bad news that like I needed a sleep apnea machine, I need to go on blood pressure meds, I need to go on cholesterol meds, I needed to. I mean, I went in with a broken leg and I emerged with still a broken ankle because I was so fat they wouldn't fix my ankle and my tibula because they were both shattered. But they said I was so fat they didn't want to put me under anesthesia twice in 1 week. So,
wow.
But I go in with a broken leg. I come out with a cast for the broken leg and a cracked ankle that they decided they're just going to let it heal on its own. And I come out on cholesterol pills, blood pressure pills, and 2 shots a day of insulin that I got to administer that they're teaching me how to do on my 3rd day in. so that I don't have a diabetic stroke. Then they told me that they might put me on some medication because I was full-blown diabetic, and that I refused to do. I'm like, no, I'll do what you're telling me to do now, but I'm not going to do it later. I can tell you that navigating, there are 3 things that stood out to me about this episode. One is they went after Lizzo, which was freaking hilarious. Second is that they went after the medical industry, which I thought was hilarious. The third is I think they went after Americans, both on 2 sides of the thing. Those who like thirst for being skinny and will take by any means necessary to try to be thin and sexy for Instagram or life or whatever, as well as people that don't need to be fat that have chosen to give themselves excuses. Because I was one of those. I made excuses for myself as to why I was fat. I made excuses that I'm getting older, I make a lot of money, I'm popular. I convinced myself that it was going to be okay to be fat for the rest of my life. And once I talked myself out of that, I fixed it. But what I liked was when they went into about how the medical industry goes. That was my experience. I go in with Kaiser thinking I got all these benefits. Next thing I know, they're trying to push me out the door, and I can't walk. I can't feel my leg. I'm in massive pain. I on my own, while I'm on Percocet and oxycodone, I'm on Percocet and Oxy at the same time. Okay, from minute 1, because that's how bad my shattered, from my ankle up through my leg, I shattered my leg. So I was on Percocet and Oxy at the same time. While I'm on that, I'm navigating a place that I can go for residential rehab. So because they want to kick me out. They basically said the most hospital days you should stay for a broken leg is in their book at Kaiser is they said 5 to 10 days. I'm like, at day 10, I was like, no, fuck you, I'm not leaving. Fuck you, I'm not leaving. I was in pain. I'm on drugs. I'm like, and by the way, I lived on a 2nd floor apartment where the only access was stairs, no elevator. Okay? Stairs, no elevators in my apartment. I'm like, there's no way you're sending me home. So then I'm like, so then I had to find my own residential rehab facility while I'm on Percocet and Oxy, try to get the medical insurance to pay for it. They refused. Kaiser wants to kick me out. Thank God I had made a lot of money in tax season, and I broke my leg. I shattered this leg right after tax season. So I just finished the October 15th tax date. So I was sitting on a wad of cash that was supposed to last me through tax season started again in February anyways. So I had $23,000 to pay for myself to go into a residential rehab facility so that I would be able to walk normal. Because had I done what the doctors did, I probably still to this day would not only not be working out, my ankle wouldn't be straight, and I probably never would have gotten the real treatment that I needed. Now, ultimately, I got some of, and by the way, I left Kaiser because I overextended the visit to 3. I basically forced them to not let me go for 3.5 weeks. My bill went up to $108,000.
What?
108. I went in with a broken leg. My bill, I still have it somewhere. I kept the folder somewhere. I should find it. Racked up to $108,000. That was just the Kaiser portion, not including the $23,000 and change that the residential rehab. That 108, they wanted me to they basically said, well, we'll cover you up to 10 grand. The rest is on your own because you refuse to leave. And I was like, no, fuck you. My doctor said they didn't want to do my ankle. Sorry, I came in as a fat fuck with high blood pressure and diabetes and all this other shit. But guess what? I didn't know about all that shit. And they wanted to put me on the streets. So eventually I got them to like cover. I only had to pay the copay up to 12 grand. And then they covered the difference between 108 and 12. But I did have to go out of pocket for that other 23,000 at the residential rehab facility, which to this day I never got repaid back. So fuck the U.S. medical system, fuck all their bullshit. And just when you think you have the best insurance on the planet, guess what? Wait till you try and test it. So fuck these fucking assholes.
Wow.
So yeah, Andre, what do you think of the episode?
We lost Andre.
I think we lost.
No, I'm still here. No, I thought it was all right, but I agree with what Mike is saying here. I do appreciate that they showed the problems that are with insurance, and hearing Mike's stories, I can imagine how bad it has to be. Like, I have never, knock on wood, had any issues with insurance myself, including that one time when I needed knee surgery. I mean, that was super duper easy. It was no problem at all to get one of the top surgeons in the world, because he happened to be Norwegian and really close to me. That may have helped. But anyway, I got that to fix my own knee when I tore my ACL. So I have never had those insurance issues, but I'm very glad that this episode addressed it. I think that it went a little bit soft. What I did appreciate was how you have like a whole industry, because it for those that haven't seen it, the episode, it deals with two facets of it. It deals with trying to make yourself healthy. I kind of like wish that there had been a subplot or some kind of messaging that you can actually do this on your own, even if you can't get this medication.
Kind of is there, Andre. I get what you're
I
saying.
know it's
though.
kind
It should have
of
been more
it's
prominent.
there. It kind of is there, but I wish it would have been a little bit more prominently featured. And what I also wish, and this is against the pharmaceutical industry, is that it juxtaposed the pharmaceutical industry that has this kind of drug that will make it easier with the food industry that is all about pushing sugar and other kinds of stuff into the food, which is highly addictive and highly freaking bad for you. Where I think that they missed the mark is that many of these are owned by the same people that use it as a means of diversifying the investment. Sell something that makes you sick in one thing, and then sell something that doesn't make you better, but that masks the symptoms in the other. Like, for instance, like you were saying, Mike, all that stuff that they gave you for diabetes when you had that, and again, massive kudos since you no longer do. But none of that stuff actually makes anything any better. It only masks the symptoms.
Well,
You're still on a timer if you have it, and you will continue to be until one of those things, one of those horrible side effects, is going to get you sooner or later, because all the medication and all it just does, it just masks the symptoms until they can't be masked anymore.
The pharmaceutical business, pharmaceutical industry is in the maintenance business.
Yes, exactly. It's not in the fixing you business.
Absolutely.
And which
that's
parallels progressivism. They want no end to their bullshit. It is I find it very ironic that both the pharmaceutical business and progressives are in the same business.
Yeah, they are.
I agree with you to a point, Andre. I mean, I think the Lizzo stuff and some of the other stuff, I mean,
we'll get to that. That was glorious.
No. But I mean, what I'm getting at is I think all the things that you're saying that you wish were more prominent are still there, even though they're an underlying thing. But I think the bigger problem here, because again, this is an episode like this episode was probably okay. I didn't like it as much as the Pandaverse one. I laughed my ass off at that one. But besides that one, this one has probably been the most personal South Park episode in years for me. So there's a lot of it going into this one that I felt like this did get into a lot of things that have been an issue with me as of late dealing with this problem. And again, I agree with you. There should have been a little bit more of the, if you eat better and exercise, you don't have to use these drugs. And that is there. Like with the whole idea of Cartman, the reason he wants to do it in the first place is because he doesn't want to fucking exercise or eat better. Right? Like that's the whole point. Right? So he is a Lizzo. Right? Like, so so I think it's there, but I get what you're saying. And I think what they're doing is they're bit off a little bit more than they could chew with this one, kind of like with the Pandaverse. And it probably should have been a 2-parter, like with the Pandaverse. Because that's what I'm seeing with these specials. Is like, it's great that you're doing these 50-minute specials, but maybe they should be more like 90-minute. Because it feels like as soon as you just start getting to the point, well, we got to wrap things up. You know what I mean? It's like, wait a minute, there's so much more here that you need to get into. And I love you guys the way you're breaking this down and tearing it apart. Because they do such great jobs with this. And there's things that this show answered questions that I had too about these things. Now, again, from the perspective of it as somebody who is trying to do this, I'm like, Mike, I want to get myself to a point where I'm better and getting off these drugs and I don't have to fucking take them anymore. And I know that's not what they want at the same time. So I just got to hope that I find a doctor who wants the same thing as I do at the same time, at least seems like they do. But that being said, overall, the episode isn't one of the better specials, no. But it is, well, I take that back. It is one of the better specials in my opinion, I guess in some ways. I'm trying to keep my personal bias out of that. Sorry, go ahead.
Hey, Tom, I'm going to tell you for what it's worth, while I very much enjoyed it on the other side of fixing my life, it was like, first of all, it's one of my 3 favorite episodes they've ever done of anything ever. But I got to tell you, it hit a lot of chords for me personally because that opening scene where they're looking at your ankles and your feet, that happened to me multiple times. where they're like, oh, wow, you've got the swelling. I don't know if it's going to come down. And 6 months later, oh, you've got this one. Well, you have been diabetic for a long time, and you should have been on insulin. And like they'd say, you should have been on insulin or drugs 5 years ago, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, well, why can't I walk? They're like, well, you're overweight. Your legs are broken. I'm like, a healing leg is not supposed to carry 300 pounds worth of weight and be able to move around easily. And I'm just like, oh, Jesus, I'm never going to walk straight. I'll never bike again. And they told me I would never walk straight, and biking again, if my ankle didn't straighten up, was a bad idea. Well, guess what? Yesterday I did 35 miles.
Awesome. I just love hearing it. Applause for Mike. I mean, that's the best thing about this episode, is just highlighting success stories like that. It just warms my heart.
Did you see it, Paul?
No, I was.
No, and what were you going to say there?
You sent me the link, and I didn't get a chance to see it.
Oh, I think these guys, but I was going to say that for Paramount being a crappy run company, like I was looking at the titles, I was just sort of flipping before the show started, and I was like, I should watch this streaming service more often. There's actually
Paramount Plus is actually one of the better ones as far as the stuff they offer.
Tom, I went to go watch it yesterday, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, and I was thinking, I can't remember the last time I logged on to Paramount Plus, and I thought about it, I was just like,
Well, the turn is when they revamped it as Paramount Plus, they actually put a lot of the older Paramount stuff on there.
And I started scrolling, and I'm like, how is this company headed for bankruptcy when there's so much good shit on there? You know what I got distracted doing? I was doing my meal prep for the week, because that's what I do on Sundays. I take a whole side of salmon, a big thing of steak. I take a whole chickens. I do meal prep for the week. And so I was sitting there. Next thing I know, I'm watching Yellowstone on Paramount Plus for like 2 hours plus. I'm like,
yeah, that's the thing. They got all those shows. They've got Beavis and Butthead. And that was what I loved, is they didn't force Beavis and Butthead to be woke, right? Like that was the thing, is Paramount has not forced any of like bullshit onto their shows.
Right.
So that's the beauty.
Star Trek.
Well, that's the difference. But that goes back to Les fucking Moonves, and that's his fault. Andre
I don't care. They could have canceled it at any time.
Unfortunately, they can't. They've got that stupid goddamn ironclad contract.
Actually, they can. They just have to. It's just so expensive.
He needs to get bought out. Yeah, that's the problem. He needs to get bought out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what's kind of keeping that in a
they can, but it costs the
now.
same to keep going, and that's kind of like the issue there.
But anyhow,
but another great thing, just to get into that, another highlight of this episode right here, which many enjoyed, was that it took on Lizzo. But and to be clear with that, it didn't actually take on Lizzo. She was just a personification. What it really took on was something incredibly dangerous that one needs to end, the sooner the better, namely the whole body positivity movement. That was my favorite thing of the episode, how these sugar pushing companies and artificially sweetening pushing companies, the ones that pump your food with all kind of shit that basically makes your food toxic, how these are the people who are behind the influencers pushing body positivity. And the face of body positivity is Lizzo. And so basically she's even represented in the episode with the drug Lizzo, which is for the ones that can't afford Ozempic or any of the other that does exactly the same thing. What Lizzo makes you do is it makes you body positive, because it makes you basically a lazy slob that doesn't care about being lazy slob. So you can eat all of the fat food you want, but you have to take it all the time, because if you stop taking it, you wake up to how shit you are, or what a shitty shape you are in, I should say. That came out wrong. You wake up to what shit physical shape you are in and how sick you really are, and that's going to make you depressed. You have to keep on taking the drug Lizzo just to stay blissfully unaware of the predicament that you actually are in as obese. This denial that allows you to hide behind body positivity. And of course, Lizzo, she found out that she was being referenced in this episode. And she reacted to it. I believe that we have a clip of that.
And that is, and just for some context here too, or not context, but I don't know how to set this up, but basically, this is one thing you don't want to do. You do not want to give Trey and Matt fucking.
I thought her reaction was great.
Fucking ammo.
I thought
honestly,
she had her.
We'll see her reaction.
Well, let's see her reaction because
we'll
I have a different reaction to it. So did most people, but we'll see here.
No,
Guys, my worst fear has been actualized. I've been referenced in a South Park episode. I'm so scared. I'm gonna blind duet to it right now. Here we go.
So she didn't even watch the whole episode.
Well, this is just a clip. She may have seen the whole thing, but just see that reaction.
I'm not eating as much, but I just don't have the same kind of willpower he has. Which of the drugs are you on, Sharon? Ozempic, Mounjaro? Oh no, I talked to my doctor. He said insurance would only pay for those if I had diabetes. But if you can't afford them, then how are you managing your weight? Don't you know, Sheila? Now there's a whole new obesity drug for those of us who can't afford Ozempic and Mounjaro. I've controlled all my cravings to be thinner with Lizzo.
It's Lizzo. Lizzo makes you feel good about your weight, and it costs 90% less than Ozempic.
I lowered my standards and my expectations.
It's Lizzo. In case studies,
90% less.
Lizzo no longer cared how much they weighed.
I don't give two shits.
Lizzo helps you eat everything you want and keep physical activity to a minimum. Some patients report constipation while listening to Lizzo. Stop listening to Lizzo if you experience suicidal thoughts. Serious side effects may include pancreatitis, hypothermia,
Cut the fucking album!
Out your ears. Are you living with concerns of obesity?
Ask about the power of not giving a fuck with Lizzo.
Period. That's crazy. I just feel like, damn, I'm really that bitch. I'm really that bitch. I really showed the world how to love yourself and not give a fuck to the point where these men in Colorado know who the fuck I am and put it on their cartoon that's been around for 25 years. I'm really that bitch, and I'll show y'all how to not give a fuck, and I'm gonna keep on showing you how to not give a fuck. Oh, Lizzo, bitch.
That's my point, is she's not learning a single fucking thing from the episode. I don't think she watched the whole thing.
No, I don't. She's reacting the episode. What learning is she going to have to take? Is she going to tell people, wait a second, yeah, they're right. I'm a person who doesn't care about my weight, and you shouldn't either.
That's exactly what she just did.
No, but I think that she dealt with it in a Lizzo way without, how can I say it? Without capitulating.
Yeah.
But it was still funny. I mean, I give her credit for this reaction. I thought that was.
I'm a little bit with Paul here, but I would like to add one thing. This is obviously not official information, but I can guarantee you that she's a paid influencer for the body positivity movement. Many of these celebrities that have some kind of cause, they're not going to be too public about it, but they have paid influencer agreements to promote this or that cause. And exactly as others saying, that's her brand. She's not going to blow up her brand when her brand was just referenced in South Park, maybe not in the way that she would have liked it. But what she does is the same thing that she obviously has been drilled to do by her handlers and her spokesperson and her contacts with whoever is paying for this influence gig. We're basically saying that no, we're going to twist this into a positive, and here's what we're going to do. Here is your script. You're going to say, wow, these notice that I'm doing that, and I'm going to keep doing this. Body positivity, fuck yeah. Yeah, well, that's the angle.
Okay, well, here. I'm kind of surprised that the two skinny guys on the panel have that reaction. I'm curious what Mikey thinks, because I'm at the point where she fucking owned herself here.
Yeah.
She did exactly what the episode says she was doing, whether it was she's being paid to or not. She just gave them more fuel then. Because if that's the case, then they'll go after saying, well, yeah, she can't even fucking do it because she's being paid. She's either in great denial or she's being paid, because that's what the whole point is. She's just she does exactly what the episode says she does in this video.
She does. Mike, what say you?
Well, I think I'm missing the distinction between all three of you saying the same thing.
No, we are saying the same thing. We're just saying it in different ways.
Yeah, because the Lizzo reminded me of me, like when she reacted to this video about the episode. I remember distinctly saying to myself, I remember one time I got in a fight with my ex, Max's mom, and she's like, "Do you understand how unhealthy you've become and how fat you've gotten?" And I'm like, "I make more money than any guy you've ever dated or known. Doesn't fucking matter how fat I get." And I went, and then I went downstairs and heated up a pizza.
That's a Lizzo thing right
That's
there.
a Lizzo thing. I used to be just like fucking. I was Mexican Lizzo.
And that's my point. She's not even getting, maybe she is, but like you guys are saying, she refuses to acknowledge
Here,
it. Did
I'll,
you see how her
I'm gonna
reaction
adapt
to them dumping on her fucking album too?
Right, I'm gonna adapt
Oh
one of
boy,
my
she had
favorite.
a fucking reaction to that.
I'm gonna adapt one of my favorite jokes. Why will Lizzo never be AI? Because she'll never become self-aware.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, so I think she's a woman with a great sense of humor. So there's a couple of key things I'm taking away from this
There's
video.
a lot of her employees that would disagree with you, but anyway.
No, but that does not mean she can't be a mean, bitchy person. So I mean, people have multiple layers in their personality.
Oh, for
Number
sure.
one, she did not glam up for this. She looks like she just got out of bed or something. Like and I thought, okay, that was on purpose. She wanted to be the every person Lizzo, not the glammed out Lizzo. Okay, I think that's important. Number one, when she was holding her mouth and everything else, I thought it was very funny, and she's good at exaggeration. So to me, it's someone who's not going to be able to lose enough weight within the next couple of days to disagree with what was in the video. So at least in the interim, maybe much along the lines of what Andre just said, is as a spokesperson, either being paid or someone who has has created, this image of being a body positive person, which she has. She's just going to go with the flow.
Yeah.
This is what I'm getting at. Why are you sticking up for this bitch?
I'm talking about two different. This has got nothing. I'm not.
In fact, this is what I'm saying is Trey and Park, they were nice to her. They could sit there and they go, look, we got a whole bag of shit we could go after if you really want us to.
Sure, but they're just talking about weight right now.
That's what I mean. Yeah, like I think this is her trying to fix her fucking image at this point. But okay.
Well, no, that's her image. It's just raised in a slightly different
What do you
way.
mean you think she's trying to fix her image? I don't understand that. What do you mean?
She's under all kinds of scrutiny right now because she's been accused by multiple people in her employ that she has fat shamed them, been a complete and utter nightmare to work with. Not only that, forced some of them to go to sex shows that had stuff to do with bananas and crap. Yeah.
In
so
other words, this is the least of her problems.
Yeah, she's been on this train to try and fix her image for the last few months now, something like that.
Been a while.
So maybe okay, I see. So I think you and I are on the same page. So what you see is that what you see as fixing an image, I see that as more like deflecting, because what she's doing is she's leaning into it.
Oh yeah, she's definitely deflecting
and taking the conversation away from the controversy into let's go. Let's get back to where we were. Where we were was let's be fat and fake happy all day long until we drop dead of a heart attack. And let's keep in mind and let's remember, I think someone said at one time, I was watching some live stream. It wasn't Midnight Sage. It wasn't anything in the fandom, anything like that. I remember sometime one said to me, look around the universe and look at how many older people there are that are fat, and you won't find none in their 90s or 80s, and hardly none in their 70s, a few in their 60s, and maybe some more in their 50s. But the older you get, the less of them there are. So that told me I needed, if I was going to be around Andre for my kid, I needed to lose weight. So Lizzo is not going to be with us for a long time. She's not going to be riding this fat train into her 80s. That's for sure.
No,
no, that is for sure. But what I hope, though, for this episode is that it may give some people reason to pause, and for those that need it to really try to change their lives. I am glad that this episode highlights that there are ways to get better. I just wish that it would have pushed a little bit more, that you don't actually need the drugs. For many, I'm sure that those drugs would help. I'm not going to say otherwise. They obviously come with side effects and stuff like that. And because of those side effects, you obviously would be better off if you're able to go on a weight loss journey without them. But the most important thing is that that those that feel affected or feel that the episode touches them in some way, no pun intended, are able to do something about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the funny thing is we didn't even get into Cartman's entire motivation to begin with.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah.
Always the best part of these episodes, right? Like, because Cartman is just, he's Cartman, right? And his whole thing is he doesn't want to be fat, not because he wants to be healthy, because he has to, but so he can make fun of other people and they can't make fun of him.
Yeah, so they can't instantly retort to, "But you're fat." So yeah, then that comeback will be removed from people.
Yeah, as far as he thinks, anyway.
Yeah. I have to give one more credit in the episode, because there's a scene taking place in India, and the background music there was like a viral Indian song from a few years back. I just have to commend the makers behind South Park for finding some really obscure music tracks, which are so fitting for the episode. This was a good one. My favorite, though, remains that episode with the Danish trolls, with like troll whatever. Yeah, remember that one? And you have like this music track in the background whenever you have a scene of Denmark. And it's an actual Danish song, a really obscure thing. I'm still amazed they were able to find it.
Well, I think that's all Trey and Matt do, or especially Trey, is just must watch and consume a lot of things and learn a lot of things. Probably travels a lot. I mean, clearly he's taking Ozempic, because that's kind of part of the joke as well. We didn't even bring that up.
No, he does, yeah.
In the episode, because it says, warning, this episode contains actual sound effects of Trey Parker injecting himself with Ozempic. Viewer discretion is advised.
I never noticed it.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't? I was at the beginning of the episode.
No, I saw that. I didn't hear.
Oh,
the
well, every time the girls are going click, click, click at the party, yeah. I noticed they made it sound very, like, extremely like exaggerated it.
Neither of the guys are chunky. Why would they take Ozempic?
Well, Trey is a little chunky now.
He's
yeah,
getting there.
Especially now that he's a dad. Yeah, he's got big time dad.
Pregnancy will do that to a man.
Yes, it will.
It will, totally. I mean, I put on a bit during my wife's pregnancy.
Well, it's because you go get something for the wifey in the middle of the night, and you're like, God, I'm a little peckish too. And next thing you know, you're eating a bunch of junk food, and you don't mean to, but
can't work out the way you did before because you have to be
and that too. Then you're not having time to work out because you're dealing with kids and everything else. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing is before I had my kid full time, I was a lot less heavier than I am now, believe it or not. So like, yeah, it does. Even just being a parent, you're not as active as you like to be physically in a way that helps you lose weight. And you're also eating crap that your kids like because they won't eat certain things sometimes. So it does kind of build up after time. And I'm not even trying to make fucking excuses. It's my fault. There was a point where I finally said to my kid, I'm not going to eat chicken nuggets and shit for every meal. You know what I mean? So like I cooked for myself and I let him cook for himself. He was old enough. He did his own thing. I'm like, whatever, if you're not going to eat what I cook, then it's there. If not, you can make something for yourself, But in that point, it's like, I realized I was just getting to a point where I'm eating nothing but, pizza and chicken nuggets all the damn time, and that's not a good thing. And that's part of the problem too, that they touch on a little bit, but I think needs to be highlighted more, is just the type of food that America has now, especially America. So I'm sure in other places it's not as big. Yeah, actually, because all of our food, 99% of it is so chock full of chemicals and crap and garbage and hydrogenated this and high fructose that there's like not even any real food in anything. Even the real food anymore is getting to the point where you got to question whether or not it's real food.
If you look at some of that junk and you read what's in it, it's actually worse in the American versions than the European.
Right.
If you, like, for instance, if you have like two identical things, like a cola or a Snickers or any kind of like ultra processed food that you can get on both sides of the Atlantic. The one you get in America is gonna get worse, have more preservatives, have more additives than the one in.
What's sad is a Twinkie from 1984 is probably better for you than a burger from McDonald's today.
Probably, yes.
Even though there's preservatives in that, everything else in it was probably natural. Like, that's my point. Now you eat better yet, let's go 1-to-1. A Twinkie now, right? A Twinkie now is so full of nothing but junk. You know, it's just high fructose corn syrup in the shape.
You're honestly better off not eating.
Well, no, I know. Yeah, you're better off starving at that point. But let's get into what you guys are talking about in the chat. Let's see here. We got actually. Let's swing over to Rumble. Is Mikey here? Because this one's for him.
He had to go out for a couple of.
Well, hold on to that one then. We'll come back around to it. Just remind me. Bucky Cat sends in 5 and says, "I'd rather watch Jeremy Clarkson in Clarkson's Farms." Oh yeah, the Jeremy Clarkson guy. Yeah. We got Pablo Papano who says, "Why do we expect anything different from Hollywood?" Yeah, I know, right?
Do we?
We never do anymore. Not anymore.
They have to win back our trust.
No shit. Speaking of man being mindless idiots, if the new Lara Croft is played by Haley Atwell, I'll swallow any feminist messaging injected into it. She'd be a good choice.
And it's Lara, not Laura.
Yeah, I know. Sorry I did that. Views with Hughes. Hey, how you doing, buddy? Says y'all just now seeing Beekeeper. My wife and I loved it. Yeah, unfortunately, I personally live in an area that's tough to see new movies. Andre saw it when it first came out.
I saw it when it came out. If you head on over to Midnight's Edge live archives and you go into the reviews playlist, there you'll find me and Paulie raving about how good it was from the weekend it came out.
Yep. And then we got Grok sends in 5, says Beekeeper is the best movie of the year. I don't know about what Andre is smoking over there or whatever the hell it is. Could he send me some? You know, Grok,
honey, that's like you can use it for anything.
I know, honestly, it's weird to say it, but I'm sitting here trying to think what else came out this year so far, and frankly, I can't think of anything else I liked better yet, unless somebody reminds me of something that I forgot.
Remember, Godzilla was last year.
It was last year. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked Godzilla X Kong, but yeah, that was not a good movie in quotation. It was a fun movie. A little different. But yeah, I don't know. What else did come out this year? I can't think of anything that was as good even. Anybody? Anything?
And I say that it remains my favorite of this year.
What was your second favorite movie of the year? Because I'm trying to even remember anything that came out this year. I'm like drawing a blank. Everything I've seen sucked except for Kong and Godzilla and Ghostbusters, and those two weren't great. In fact, I didn't think Ghostbusters was good on second viewing. That's what pissed me off about the whole other thing was I had my other issues with the movie, not the lesbian shit.
Wow, I'm trying to remember what movies I saw already in the theater.
Yeah, I'm trying to do the same thing, and I'm drawing a blank for the most part.
I can't think of anything.
Several times. I'd have to take a look at my receipts. One thing that needs to be discussed with the diet, and this is unique to the United States and Canada because we're affected by what the United States does, but I think it was the late 60s where they decided that all fats are bad. And one of the benefits of fat is that it makes food flavorful. And what did they substitute for fat to make all these foods flavorful? And that was sugar, unfortunately. And the sugar lobby was very happy with this particular situation. And that is one of the greatest policy mistakes in the history of humankind.
Well, the episode actually touches on that too, Paul. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm just saying. So that's, and now, like not now, but fairly recently, they're going, well, you know what? Lard that doesn't have BHT in it is actually really good. All these fats that were considered trans fats actually aren't trans fats. Now we're going, seed oils are actually bad because they roughen up the heart arteries. So everything that we were told was good in the 60s and the stuff to stay away from. You have to understand that, my relatives who were smokers and drinkers in Hungary, the ones that didn't get sent off on a train, all lived into their 90s.
Yeah.
And they fried everything in pig lard, even though they were Jews, because I mean, you can't really make a good pie crust unless it's from lard. And they ate natural, like there was like no additives in anything back in the,
No, that's a good point, Paul.
The 70s.
That's
and
actually
that was the worst thing that ever happened to the United States.
That generation right now, the generation just before yours, is actually, I would love to see the statistics down the road, because I think you're right. Because there's a lot of that generation that's living to the 90 to the 100 range. And I think that's why things are looking so up on, life expectancy, and they're using that to push the modern bullshit. And it's like, no. You need to go back to see what these people grew up on and lived off of for most of their life.
Well, my mom was out about it in the 60s and switched to margarine, which was the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, margarine is horrible for you.
I was part of the era where I remember the demarcation line, where suddenly, natural fats were gone. They were even avocado oil bad, olive oil bad, anything oil was bad. And I don't think we've ever recovered from it. And then we ended up with hydrogenated vegetable oil just to try to keep it, stable, things like that. And flavored hydrogenated vegetable oils was the boon to the restaurant. Oh, you want Cajun chicken? Well, you don't have to spice the Cajun chicken. I don't know if you realize this, but I was in the restaurant business, and they just got this giant white tub of hydrogenated vegetable oil, Mexican, right? And they just glooped that onto your pan, fried your chicken in it, and suddenly you had jalapeno flavored chicken. They were able to do anything that they wanted with hydrogenated vegetable oil. It really was a boon to the restaurant biz, but bad for humans.
Yep, and we're reaping that.
We are.
Look at how fat America is.
And it's everywhere, because so much of the food advice that we have all grown up with, it's just flat out wrong.
Right.
And so many things that we have been told are dangerous and we must avoid are actually really, really good for us, and the opposite.
Well, and I learned a lot of that throughout the 80s and 90s when we finally started learning that, you had the bad thing, big thing forever. It was like, I don't know which one it is this week, if eggs are good or bad for me.
That's right.
Yeah, we had it constantly. It was like, well, it depends on who's fucking paying for it this week, right? Because that's all it came to. And then the mad cow thing and everything like that was against the beef. You had so much shit throughout that era that I totally get it. And the food pyramid that was what I was going to get to too. Is completely
in the United States, there was a point where the Surgeon General of the United States was actually paid for by the sugar lobby.
Yep. Yeah. And then you even go back farther than that. And that's where like cereal and stuff became such a big part of American breakfast and stuff, because like Kellogg was like, I think he worked for the government and shit like that too. It's all like, once you start realizing it, it doesn't even take that much to go conspiracy. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I don't even want to say that word too many times or the thing will get all wonked up, but you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it doesn't take much to start drawing, the yarn threads to these things.
Yarn threads between the bottom line is that if you can, don't eat sugar.
Yeah, well, and that's what I'm trying to learn and try and break myself. It's the hardest. It's one of the hardest things ever. I might even be able to quit smoking before I actually quit sugar.
But it's highly addictive.
But those two things together are the worst things
that you can put in your body.
I used to drink 4 liters, 2 liters of orange soda a week, and at least 2 liters of orange juice a week. A week. That was what I was consuming.
Wow.
See, and that's the problem is things like orange juice and sports drinks are just as bad or worse in some cases than
they are. I mean, you don't even get the health benefit from it.
The other thing too is that people say, "Oh, I don't have time to eat healthy." You know what? In the time that I was just gone, what was I gone? 6 minutes flat. Just made me a nice healthy salad while I was letting Bambino out, and I just tossed that salad, and I already have my salad for lunch, and I'll be eating it again for dinner.
You might want to rephrase that, but anyway,
no, I will be tossing salad later tonight after dinner as well as
no, you just went double worse now. Double worse.
I'm talking about what are you talking about? Oh, I know what you meant. You freaking guys.
You made it worse, man. You're clipped all over the internet in 10 minutes. I can see it already. Anyway.
But anyway, message stands. Make your
Super chats. Oh my God, look at all these super chats we got to read. Oh my God.
Yeah, we even have a
Moving
Rumble
on with
rant
the
just for
super
you,
chats.
Mike.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I know you got to get running here pretty soon too. Yes.
Oh, yeah. I just
So while I'm doing this one for Mikey, well, you want to double check and see if there's any for
yeah,
Paul.
I'll check if there's anyone specifically for Paul here. So
And we got
there is.
Fundo Shigen. Fundo Shigen, I think is how you say it. I apologize if I said it wrong. For $10 on the Rumble side. Congrats to Mexican Iron Man. I gained 20 pounds recently and just turned 50. Hopefully I can get back on my discipline and lose it.
You can.
Wow. Well, more power to you.
Can.
Yes, you can. Cut carbs out of your diet completely. All carbs. No bread, no sandwiches.
That's
no
what I'm
bread.
working on right now is cutting down
bread,
the carbs.
gone.
Yep.
No pie. All carbs. No chips with your sandwich. Nothing. All carbs.
And
gone.
no juice. No orange juice, no apple juice. They are not healthy for you. You do not get any C vitamin, no vitamin juice. You don't get any vitamins from juice. You're just drinking fructose.
No,
better
no
off
sugar.
without it.
No sugar.
Yeah. You can have sparkling water. You can drink all sparkling water you want as long as it's flavorless.
And no sweetener, no artificial sweeteners either.
Worse than sugar.
And a tossed salad is good. Just don't talk about tossing salad on the internet. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. And then since we are losing, we have another one for Mike here. Embrace the Apocalypse says for 35 South African rounds. Mike, I can answer your question. Kurtzman is directly responsible and tangentially responsible for killing Paramount Pictures and thus Viacom, CBS, and now Paramount Plus.
Yeah. You ain't kidding, buddy. You ain't
no
kidding.
one had to make the deal with him.
Given right there.
Yeah, that's some truth being spoken there.
Yeah. And then we got one for Paul as well. Accidental Seller says for 20 Norwegian krona. Paul said trans fat. Even the fat went woke.
Yep. So, that's why it's a problem.
Yeah. Indeed. And Thunderstorm says seed oils and chemicals in the American diet is making people obese and sick. Yeah, that and the sugar and all the sweeteners. And Scott Cook says
can I say something
that go for it.
Try not to get into a panic because you'll never change anything and it will consume you. If you can do just one thing, and that is buy your ingredients from a supermarket and make your own food. Even if there's some cruddy stuff in there, like some bread or something from a store, but it's decent bread, you're always going to be better off than having a fast food diet. So one step at a time. You don't get panicked and try to change everything at once. If you do nothing else, like our family, we eat takeout once a month, maybe. And that is really low compared to everybody else that we know. No restaurant food, nothing. So if you can make one change, just buy your ingredients from a supermarket and make your own food. You are multiple steps ahead.
Yeah. Steps is of course the secret of the game, and begin from where you are. But for instance, to reverse diabetes and stuff like Mike has done, all carbs need to go.
That's a specific thing.
Yeah.
And Paul is freaking out on us in the chat that we're totally misinformed on what we're telling people. We're not dietitians, so keep that in mind, nor are we doctors. So,
but I played one on television.
Chato?
No, Paulie.
He's got the link. He can come in here if he's got something.
I know, but
I gave him a 15-minute commercial earlier. He needs to zip it.
Yeah. Well, everyone for real health advice, check out SendFit, because I mean, Paulie is a big reason why Mike has been able to do the complete 180 health-wise and get to the place where he is today from where he was. So
we're just speaking from personal experience. We're not doctors. We're not fitness instructors. We're not dietitians, so keep that in mind, kids.
Well,
I mean,
indeed.
telling everybody to eat less, I mean, buy your food at a supermarket and cook it yourself, I don't think is enough.
No, I know, but we should
Relatively
asterisk it.
uncontroversial.
We should asterisk it because it is considered. It could be
Yeah.
considered medical
This
advice.
is true. Everyone, don't do anything before you have done your own research. This is the most important thing. And then also maybe speak with a medical professional. But
I
do your
recommend
own
going
research.
Lizzo.
Yeah,
is
that's when
cheaper.
all else fails.
According to the episode, and that is true. Did we read this from Scott Cook, who's been a member for 21 months?
I was
Both
about
Mike and Tom, and I've lost 150 pounds. That's a person, yo, over the last 2 years, and I understand how difficult it is. Keep it up. Well, I got to do the same,
fantastic
Scott.
stuff. Congratulations.
Congratulations, man.
Bravo,
That's awesome.
freaking oh,
Right?
bravo! Holy
Look at that.
shit.
Balloons for you. Speaking of balloons, it's SFX F-13 Sabertooth Raptor's birthday today. Tom, can you do Norwegian bat, Tom? Chato, thanks for your comments on Edmund Scientific. Great panel. Happy Memorial Day. So yeah, thanks to Chato for your comments.
On Edmund Scientific, yes. Yes. I loved using the Edmund Scientific catalog.
Okay. I am Norwegian Batman. Hello. SFX Sabertooth Raptor. Okay, I can't do the Andre voice and Bad Tom at the same time. It's too confusing to my bad brain, but I will try. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. I just sound stupid as hell, guys. This is dumb. I refuse to do this. This is not in my contract. This is not. It's not in it. I'm going to look. He's going to get his contract.
Oh, a good thing that we didn't send him a Norwegian script. That would have been funny. But yeah, happy birthday, and glad to have you here. And with that, we have some more super chats. So let's keep rolling here. Going back to the top, Shadow Dancer, the Red Mage, has been a member for 20 months, saying The Matrix, Logan's Run, Idiocracy, 1984. The list of historic documentaries keeps growing. Yeah, I'd also say keep Dread in mind from 2012. I mean, that's going to have some predictive powers right there. But Archie says for $5, may we always remember the ultimate sacrifice made for us by the men and women in uniform. Freedom is never free. Its price is eternal vigilance. Yes, very, very true and very relevant.
Did we have to let Paul go, or
does Paul have a few more minutes, or you have to run?
I need to run.
I was going to say.
Well, thanks for being here today. Yeah,
as always. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you later.
Okay, we'll check out appalling news, and yeah, we got actually a Rumble rat here too while we had a break. We had Pinochet's helicopter tours on the Rumble side saying, pouring out one for my homies and all the salads Mexican Iron Man will toss on his Memorial Day.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Mikey.
Good stuff.
You walked right into that one, dude. And then you made it worse.
I don't know what you were talking about. Someone should have said, shut up.
And then he's like, after tonight, I'm tossing all sorts of salad. It's like,
well, I believe you can't do
that. You guys know I'm not a YouTuber. I need training in this, Andre. I need training.
I don't know if that's an excuse.
No. The excuse is that you can do that on a woman as well. I mean, that's the story.
When I say tossing salad, I mean eating health.
We know what you mean, and it doesn't matter.
We know what you meant. Moving on.
You had one up on the street.
For $10 Australian. Winston Richards, who once listed his hobbies as music, screwing, and growing his own weed, was musically inclined as a child, learning the piano, keyboard, xylophone, drum, saxophone, and harmonica. Which is very interesting. Thank you for that history lesson. And Chaos Sonic says for $1.99, I was proven right with Garfield versus Furiosa. Yeah, so were anyone who bet against Furiosa. And Jason Webster says for $5, since the disappearance of Winston Richards, the rumors have swirled.
Well, he was, as you've seen in the biography, he was last seen being chased by several women claiming paternity suits. So,
well, maybe he disappeared of his own volition. Then
pretty much, yeah. We don't know where he's at.
And Jason Webster continues. One rumor is Winston, an insomniac, died of a massive coronary after mistaking Viagra for sleeping pills. Well, that would be one hell of a way to go.
Yes, indeed. So check out the song for more info on Midnight's Edge After Dark.
Another rumor is that he fled to Germany, underwent gender reassignment surgery, changing his name to Willow Reed, and runs a dance studio. I think I prefer the previous one. But Jason Webster has more theories for another $10 Australian dollars. Another is 2 years after the gender reassignment surgery, Willow married a music producer in Malibu where they live with 2 doggies, a mange survivor named Scruffy and a female bulldog named Oprah. Well, good thing they're not in the UK, where some bulldogs are no longer allowed. So, yeah. Time will, well, we may never know, as we said. And Bufo, I highlighted this comment because I thought it was interesting. Yahoo claims Furiosa's budget was 233 million, 98 million from Warner Brothers, 135 million from Australian government grant. So yeah, Australia, that's money well spent right there. But for Warner's, good luck then, because or good for them, because that means their risk was reduced, but it means even more money was flushed down the drain.
You know what?
That's really bad of the Australian government, if this is accurate, which probably it is.
I wonder if they pulled a cannon on the Australian government. Hear me out for a second here. I wonder if Warner Brothers didn't spend a dime on this movie. They claim they did. On paper, they probably did.
Well, budgets include the tax credits, so
because everything costs twice as much.
When they
probably.
said they spend it, that spending can be funded by tax credits of local governments.
Well, I'm just saying, because people say that they don't see the money on screen. That's one thing I keep hearing, and you've seen it, Andre, so you can either back me up or disagree with me on this one.
Well, the money, I suppose.
Does it look like a $233 million movie to you?
Yes and no. It looks very expensive, but without feeling expensive, if that makes sense. I mean, a lot of money was obviously spent on it, but it was poorly spent. Does that make sense?
Kind of, yes. I mean, but of course, you know, we know how movies work. I'm just curious. I'm not saying Warner Brothers pocketed any money in this respect, like we say in our other situations where like the production company will pocket half and then they spend half on the production.
Yeah, I don't think that was the case here.
I think though that they used Australians' money, kicked in a little bit of money, but everything cost a hell of a lot more than they say it cost a hell of a lot more than it really did, so that they could balloon the budget up to make it look like Warner Brothers spent that kind of money on it when it wasn't Warner Brothers. They really just used all of Australian money to spend. That's what I was getting at.
Regardless, it doesn't matter. They pocket all of Hollywood is doing is pocketing money on approved projects so they can enrich themselves and not.
Well, that part's true as well. But my point is, I feel like Warner Brothers might not have spent as much money on this movie as we think. I think they used other people's money.
This is the Hollywood way.
Exactly.
Yeah. And of course now, since the movie is a flop and they have to try to save face, they're going to be, we didn't lose that much on it. Just wait.
We don't need to get audited. Shit.
Yeah, exactly. But moving on.
I'm just speculating. Please,
yeah,
I'll do it. Take care of what you got to take care of. Yeah. And then we've got John Ever Bear, who says, I'm surprised Lizzo wasn't the third Death Star in The Mandalorian. Well, she kind of was, if you think about it, in a way. One of the Death Stars that killed the franchise. I think you're muted, Mike. That or I didn't hear you.
I said kinda.
Yeah. Elites should know their place, says Pinochet's Helicopter 2 is for 5. And when they have been conquered, they need to accept their new punching bag status like Lizzo has. Mock them endlessly. I don't think she's accepted it. I really don't. That's where I was disagreeing with Paul and Andre on that, is she is either in complete denial or, like they said, I guess more so, just because she's being paid that she will never change her tune. She's just becoming the meme now.
That's her brand, bro.
It is. Well, it's becoming a meme at the same time, but yeah.
But no one
Scotty
cares
said,
about memes. If you're getting paid and you don't care about the memes, you just care about your brand and the cash.
yeah, but she's a falling star. That's my point. Or planet, I think. Well, no, stars are bigger, technically, yeah.
She's a falling star that's filling out deposit slips.
Yeah. Well, for how much longer? That's the thing.
How much longer does she need to? So she's banked like over 100 million.
Well, how much is she really worth? Because the music industry ain't as big as people like to think it is anymore. Scotty sends in $4.99, says it used to be I'm here for a good time, not a long time, but I'm not on the same journey as Tom and Mike. I want to be here for a long time. Well, yeah, I'm working on it, brother. I'm working on it. And I know Mikey is, and he's living proof. John Apocalypse.
I've already told Tom he can't die early anyways, because I will go to hell and heaven and in purgatory. I will drag.
I say, you think I might
back.
end up in heaven? Psh, you might as well just go straight to hell. You'll find
Whatever. I'm just saying, wherever you go, I will find you and I will drag you back here for the next live stream.
Nope. I'm Irish, so yeah,
you're not going anywhere.
It's inevitable.
Exactly. So you better just save us the trouble.
John Apocalypse sends in £2 and says, Google image search UK and USA Fanta.
Okay. Yeah, see the difference in preservatives, additives, and all kind of shit. That's really
probably big difference. I just even between Mexican version and US version, there's huge differences. Just because of the natural stuff. Let me see if I can find it quick. But US version gets its dyes from red 40 and yellow 6 fructose syrup, while UK version has sugar. There's also no orange juice in the American Fanta, so there's actual orange juice in theirs too. So yep, that makes a big difference. See, and I noticed that from growing up where things change their taste. You know, that kind of goes back to the new Coke thing. That was part of the formula changes. They changed from sugar to high fructose corn syrup. But yeah. And that's the real killer right there. High fructose corn syrup, and that I know. Accident Seller says with 50 Norwegian Kroner is nothing is better than Norwegian salmon fillet and some salmon fillet with potatoes and romaine. Did I say that right? And with co-op.
Not too bad. Yeah, no, not too bad. It's pronounced rømme, but yeah.
Rømme. Yeah. And coop broccoli blanding.
Broccoli blanding. Yeah, that's basically the Walmart broccoli mix.
Frozen ones are not too expensive in Norway. I'll do that sometimes.
And they're perfectly fine for you. I mean, frozen broccoli, at least in Norway, it's just as fine as anything else, and it's super healthy. It's good for your tons of iron. So as long as you don't have too much iron, I've had that myself at one point. I've never been iron deficient. I've had the opposite problem. So then I couldn't eat broccoli for a good while there. But other than that, yeah, no, that's a healthy meal right there.
The New Zealand Greg has been a member for 31 months, or NZ Greg. I don't know why I always do that. Stian Mondstad has been here for 22. Thank you for that, Stian. Then David March sends in another Canadian 5 and says, Tom needs to get food from Amos Miller Farms. Amish food is purest thing you can get. I'm down 65 pounds from 305, start of 2020, 6,000 steps a day. Well, actually, David, what I do during the summertime a lot is go to like the markets and stuff. And there are a bunch of fruit and veggie markets out there that get a lot of their produce from local farms and Amish farms. We got a huge Amish community where I'm from, actually. So, yeah, so that's not really so much a problem as where I'm at now personally is a bit of an issue, but like if I travel a little bit, it's not such a big deal. That makes sense. Paulus Plain sends with 200 Norwegian krona. World War II facts: the British children have the best teeth ever. No sugar in war years. Huh? Yeah. STR Red Wolf says with $5, the big offender is HFCS. 2 university research papers showed how it causes weight gain. Switch to cane, beet sugar soda helps switch to water. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing, STR Red Wolf. I know it's going to be a tough switch, but yeah, getting off of any of the chemical high fructose shit, getting to sugar, off of sugar is going to be tough. Yeah. So I'm already in that place now. But yeah, that actually catches us up on that. I don't know what you sent in the background here, but I want them. I don't have the money for them, but I want them. Some theater chairs.
Yeah, well, that's ixnay on that maybe can be arranged.
Shit. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway, that's something else completely unrelated, I guess. Never mind.
that's
Okay.
something completely unrelated.
Then say that with the message, man. Yeah, here's another problem is there's a lot of dairy in Wisconsin. And we're like able to eat. You guys would like freak out at how much cheese we could eat and call y'all wusses because you're like, oh, I can't eat anymore. I'll be backed up for a week. And be like, wuss. Like we can eat a whole block of cheese and be like nothing. And a steak covered in butter and mushrooms. Yeah, like fuck that. That's lunch. That's another thing. Is like my portioning I brought way down. That's been a big thing. I think I'm noticing a little change. So hopefully I get there. And I want to thank all of you for the support, especially the two men on this panel here, and Paulie out in the chat as well.
Yeah, and I will also
being
want to
people
talk,
who are cheerleaders. But
yeah, everyone, like you for those who have been watching for the stream, you saw the pictures of Mike before and Mike now. Mike, again, massive kudos to you. You have done amazing. And also massive kudos to Paulie, who helped you get there. Of course, you walked the journey, but Paulie, you showed the way. So everyone, if you want help, Paulie, he's a personal trainer. He can help you with these kind of stuff. So reach out to Paulie at Midnight's Edge Espanol and the Latinos land. And he can, through, don't even have to do anything in person. He'll do Zoom calls and he'll give you the personal help that you need to get started. And he also can help you with the proper eating and stuff like that and find what is right for you. And Accident Seller wonders for 20 Norwegian krona. What about the 1 meal a day plan? Effective? I'm not too familiar with like what 1 meal a day referring to.
I would say consult with your physician or dietitian first because it could be for some people. I would imagine it just means you only have 1 meal a day.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about like intermittent fasting, you have to make sure that you are ready for it. Intermittent fasting, if that's what you're talking about, first you have to make sure that that 1 meal is the right meal, and you also have to make sure that you are in the right physical condition for it. This is what you need to verify first. But in principle, assuming that that 1 meal is the correct meal, and that you are in the kind of physical position where you
have no other medical
benefit from it and not detract from it. You can't have like any conditions that where your metabolism requires you to have anything all the time. Assuming that's going to be pretty darn good. But again, that's for you to research and you to verify yourself if that's right for you. And it's a gradual thing. You can't just go straight into it. You have to do a gradual thing to get into fasting.
Right. And again, and that's something that's the best answer we can give you because and that's why I reiterated half jokingly, but honestly earlier that we are not dietitians. We're not doctors. We're not specialists. And it actually does. And I'm sure Paulie at least will back this up in all his you guys don't know what you're talking about throughout the whole show. The thing is everybody's different.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the main thing. So and this is where we kind of talked about Morgan Spurlock last week, rest in peace. Part of the thing that got him in hot water with the whole supersize me thing was his diet before he went into that diet was not the type of diet you should normally jump from one to the other to. And he wasn't really honest with the audience about as much of that and his alcoholism. Right. So there was 2 or 3 other factors going into that fed into what he already knew was going to be the obvious outcome, right? So that's the other thing. And in that case, it's like, so a huge change in your diet can cause massive issues fast, right? And in that case, he went from a heavy vegetarian diet into a fast food only diet, which of course he's going to gain 60 fucking pounds. His blood pressure is going to shoot up, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because you're introducing a ton of sodium and shit to your system on a constant basis that you weren't before and other things like that. So anyway, that being said,
Yeah, I mean, just
think
look
you get
at
the point.
what the hell is that influence? Like Nico Avocado or whatever. He's like,
Nick Avocado, yeah, he went
Yeah.
from being a vegetarian and slender to being basically Lizzo.
So basically, he went for something that's only right for some people. That's not going to be that beneficial for a lot of people. To something that's
Well, he went
really
to
not
from one
beneficial
extreme to
anyone.
another, because some would argue
Yeah.
when he was a vegetarian, he was too thin.
He maybe wasn't optimal, but he certainly was better off than he.
Exactly. I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
saying one's better than the other, but I'm just saying you can go both extremes too here. You know, like you got to be able to consult with your doctor, your dietitian, know what's best for you and your
of
body.
those two extremes, I'm not going to say one is better, but one is definitely more bad.
Yeah. Well, and you can have health problems on both sides too.
Yes, absolutely. That's what I mean. Like, none are good. But one is way more bad. It's
You want to come in that mid-range, and
Yeah.
that's where I'm working towards. I don't expect to be Arnold Schwarzenegger when I get out of done with this. I don't even expect to maybe be as good as Mikey looks right now. I don't think I ever could. I don't have his hair. But but
hey,
I'm trying for somewhere close to that, to where I feel like I've made a huge amount of progress and I can get off all this crappy shit that I got to take.
If you can even get halfway there, it's going to be a massive improvement from where you are.
Hey, I was stuck a lot of ways. Like, I remember getting down to 288 from 305. That was a win. I was stuck at 288 for a while. I remember being stuck at 272. I remember being stuck at 268. I remember being stuck in the 250. I was stuck at 255 forever. Like, I remember feeling like I was stuck at 242, then 238. There were all these little steps where I was just stuck there for weeks on end, and I just had to keep plowing through that.
And nobody's running defense for Mickey D's here at all. Like I said, we all know it's bad for you.
Yeah.
Like I said, he just fed into an obvious end. We all knew it. He knew it. Everybody knew it. Why we should have never been surprised by the outcome.
Well, I'm not going to get too much into it, but I'm sure his former diets and nasty habits probably didn't help.
No, they didn't help. That's where his liver came into play mainly.
Yeah.
See, that's the other thing, because he played up the whole bit about, oh, it's destroying your liver. Well, he left out the fact that he was kind of a bit of an alcoholic. And he actually got, it was kind of talked about later.
Yeah,
I think he went into
help.
rehab.
Basically, what have we learned? Eat healthy and drink moderately.
Exactly. And consult your physician. And with that, we're gonna wrap this up. So,
well, I
Mikey,
believe we have one more.
Did we? Oh, we did. No, this was the only one I thought.
No.
Was there one more?
There's one more. Isn't there?
A Rumble rant?
Oh, I take it back. We are under control.
Okie dokie. All right. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, check out Mexican Iron Man's YouTube channel. Even though he claims he doesn't have one, he does.
And give him some extra kudos in the chat for his health journey and for reversing diabetes. My massive respect to Mike, the Mexican Iron Man. Also, thanks to Paul Chato for joining us here earlier. Check out his channel. And everyone, have a fantastic day. Go celebrate with your family. And remember to appreciate those who sacrifice, allows the rest of us to be here and enjoy all this. And with that, it is time for some koalas in the rain.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given. Koalas in the rain.